Smarter humans care significantly more about animals than dumber humans. Like, the people studying gorillas in Africa are not stupid. And the people, I gotta tell you what, brother, we should nuke the gorillas. You know, just like, there's only 200 of them left, man. We're almost gonna kill them. Like, it's unlikely that smart people are extinctionists, because smart people value diversity and they value study. I wouldn't look at intelligent entities as any more altruistic from like aw, humanity's adorable, humanity. I see them as grossly selfish entities with massive Napoleonic aspirations for galactic conquer.
It's Friday, July 23rd, 2026. Welcome, Doom Debates world, Doom Debates army.
Howdy, howdy. What's up, everyone?
We can't say Doom Debates army, right? We can never hint at the idea that somebody who wants to stop AI Doom will ever do it by violent means, right? So Doom Debates army is like going too far.
That's right. No, it's not an army. It's a Doom Debates volunteers, a group of pacifist volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Doom Debates readers, right? Doom Debates
Subscribers,
voters. Let's check out the YouTube. And I set a goal on YouTube for this stream where if we can get 20 viewer donations during the stream, then we'll extend the time. Otherwise, we'll shut it off. We'll just slink away.
Nice. That'd be the most ever.
Yeah, it's a stretch goal. All right, let me just check my audio here.
We're getting some funny comments. Daniel Brockman coming in the stream like Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, exactly. Leroy Jenkins. That's me.
Love that.
Yeah, so if you guys are watching now, I'm seeing 30 people on YouTube. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
our special guest should be coming here in like 7 minutes. So you guys this isn't just your ordinary Q&A, okay? This is a first of its kind special guest Q&A featuring, YouTube star, Dr. Mike Israetel. Yes, that's right. We're going to be asking him about fitness tips. We're going to be asking him about his latest updates on PDoom and whatever you guys have to throw at him. Oh, all right. We got our first donation coming in. SEK20 from Daniel Brockman. Thanks very much, Daniel.
Oh. Wow.
All right, he's counting him up. He's counting him up. He did 1 and 2. Maybe he'll do it 20 times in a row. All right, you can. It's okay if you want to pace yourself throughout the stream.
Wow.
You don't have to shoot your wad.
There's not even a comment too. He's just trying hitting the goal.
Right. Yeah, and I guess 20 Swedish krona. That's $2 USD. All right, $2. Pretty soon you're talking real money. Oh, 3.
More.
Nice. All right, we got donations. But I think I reserve the right to not blow the whistle unless the donation is like $10 plus. Okay, this whistle. By the time that's time is money. Blowing the whistle is already taking up too much time here. But yeah,
are you gonna blow the whistle on Mike Israetel? Can we talk for a second? I was just looking at. I was just listening again to the last debate, and I feel like you guys in the last debate got to the crux of it. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, we really did. We got to everything that was important. I agree.
It was just, it's like, I think you pinpointed that, he has some disagreements on many of the different stops on the Doom train.
Right, that's right. Yeah, he's a multi-stopper, right? It's not just all boiled onto one thing. And just to review, if you guys are awaiting Mike Israetel right now, so he definitely he thinks AI being curious about us is going to be a reason why it saves us, right? I think just to steel man his position, he's like, there's so much rich complexity. How are you ever going to learn as much about like social dynamics of 8 billion people on Earth besides just looking at humanity? Recreating it from scratch would be so hard. You want to just stick with what you have. I think that's kind of his position. So and so by default, it should just leave the Earth to us and use the rest of the universe to do whatever else it wants to do. That was like a major crux.
Right.
Yeah, but he had other cruxes too, right? What do you think? Do you remember what was his other main crux? Oh yeah, I remember he had that quote, right, where that we're going to be pulling our pants up, right? Like AI is going to help us defend ourselves so well that offense is not going to triumph over defense.
Right. I see on the live stream that I'm on the left, and you did some change before where you would like move the cameras.
Yeah. Let me see if I can move the camera. That's right. You don't belong on the left. All right, get in your rightful place here. You got to sit shotgun.
I gotta
But
get
I'm
in
not sure
my
if it'll learn.
rightful place.
Yes. Right. Yeah, exactly. Not your left full place. Yeah, I'll keep poking at it. I don't
Okay.
know how Riverside works. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, look, I think I got myself on the left, but it's tricky because now I gave you like a smaller spot. Yeah. Or this isn't egalitarian. Okay, I get the lion's share of the real estate here.
I think that's fine, honestly. No, no, that's fine. But then this is isn't this the kind that like automatically switches? No, it doesn't. No, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I clicked pin on myself. All right. Whatever. I mean,
Nice.
I know there's a feature where we can edit the layout. I'm looking at that.
No, I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
Everyone's here
good
to
as
see you,
is.
okay? You're the main star.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, you'll see. There's going to be a spin-off show. Okay, it's going to be called like I don't know, Ori After Dark.
Doom Debates After Dark, hosted by Ori.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a layout tab. Yeah, there's like random layouts we can try. I guess I'll be trying it like when Mike is here. I'll be like fiddling. Oh, look, here's like you in a circle. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
we should just do it
If I
like
say
that. You
something,
should just be in a little circle.
I
Yeah,
think me in the
you're
circle,
like
honestly. Yeah,
right. Well, you could just be the sign language interpreter.
yeah.
I'll just be talking about Doom. Yeah. Remember, did you ever see that clip where it's like somebody got on stage and did like a fake sign language interpretation when like some governor was talking? Oh snap! All right, Daniel Brockman is paying to play here. He's really up in the ante.
Wow.
I just
You
saw
know,
SEK $2,000 come in.
he
All right,
gamed your
let me
system.
convert that here. And I'm all right. Stand by. Oh snap!
Oh.
All right, 200 United States dollars. All right, guys. I think
Oh,
he's now
snap.
he's single-handedly bought the overtime, guys. So if you're gonna donate, don't bother. It's all we're good to go here. This organization is fully funded through the second half of July 3rd. So you guys are good.
But there's no question. I wanted to do 20. So it's just going to make it a note. Wow, Brockman was fighting against the interface. It's like, screw this interface. It sucks.
Oh wow.
Just
Yeah, the way the interface works is just going to make it annoying. Yeah, to do 20 donations. All right. Much appreciated, Daniel Brockman. And for those of you guys who don't know, shout out to Daniel Brockman. He's the show's #1 donor. I think it's fair to say he's actually donated more than everybody else combined. He's really, like there's a power law distribution, and we're actually going to elaborate on the donation situation in the next like 2 weeks or so. We're going to let you know the state of the show, and we really appreciate the viewer donations because that's really the only reason we have pretty decent production values here on Doom Debates. The studio that you see around you, it was entirely funded by donations of Daniel Brockman and others. So yeah, thanks so much for doing that, guys. I know you guys are aligned with the mission. Your donations have helped so far, and and like I said, we're gonna elaborate more. We're gonna let you know what the deal is with the show's funding situation. Yeah, right, Ori.
that is exactly right. And yeah, thank you, Daniel Brockman. Not to be confused or any relation to Greg Brockman from OpenAI.
Oh man, yeah, the Brockman name, man. It's there's certain last names that if you have those last names, it's like they're just gonna tag you for life.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, I was just thinking about it because I'm pretty sure that everyone calls Greg Brockman just Brockman. So
Right.
yeah, they're different, very different people, I would imagine.
I was just listening to this Noiser podcast that came out about the American Revolution. Very interesting. I love their series of podcasts. So it's about the American Revolution, and they're getting to Benedict Arnold, and it made me think of Benedict Evans. I'm like, is it too soon to call yourself Benedict?
Wow. You just can't let a good beef go, huh?
Yeah.
Benedict
Nice.
Evans,
All right,
for the
all right.
audience, is like a prominent tech pundit who Liron has famously had some beefs with, let's say.
Yeah, everybody knows about the Liron Shapira, Benedict Evans beefs of 2022. Those are indelibly written in social media.
Oh man, memorable to us for sure.
Yeah, if you go back to 2022, there's like one back and forth with me and Benedict Evans where he basically was saying that crypto is going to have so many use cases. And I was like, really? I feel like there's none because like double spending is just not that big of a problem. And then he kind of like went to town on me for being like so bad faith and like having no idea what's going on. And then I went to town on him for like he wasn't even representing my position accurately. And then he blocked me, and the rest is history. I don't know if he's that relevant these days.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him recently.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, it's getting hot here in upstate New York, so I'm going to take off my Doom Debates merch. I'll just change into my regular clothes.
Oh my God, it's Doom Debates all the way down.
Exactly right. Yep, I'll show you my Doom Debates underwear if we get $5,000 in donations.
That's the thing when you have a like a merch store, like whatever it is, Cafe Press or whatever our product is, you can just put the logo, put it on everything. Okay, you could have
Yeah.
visors.
So yeah, so we can cut the foreplay here. We're gonna go straight into straight into the special guest. All right, so you guys know him from Doom Debates and his own YouTube channel. And if you follow fitness, he's one of the most prominent names out there. He's also an AI X risk pundit who has his own position in a very different part of the belief space than yours truly. Please welcome Dr. Mike Israetel. Hey, Mike, welcome to the stream.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, Ori? How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
All right, Mike. So we gotta start at the beginning here. It's good to see you again. You still working out?
No, I quit lifting years ago, man. It's just so hard.
Okay.
It's just like, why?
How many hours per day do you lift?
80. Think about it, man. I have a special room in which time and space don't operate the same way. So I go in there for an hour, but it's 80 hours in the room. Honestly, so I train probably 6 times a week for about 2 hours at a time. And then I do 2 or 3 jiu-jitsu sessions that like take an hour each. So, yeah.
Wow. BJJ, just like Joe Rogan, huh?
Just exactly like Joe Rogan, who I aspire to be in every possible way.
Do you fitness influencers all know each other?
We don't all know each other. I've never been introduced to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like next level famous. So one does not simply become introduced to Joe Rogan.
Got it. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, it's just me and you here. Don't mind the audience. I want to get some fitness coaching.
Okay.
I want to get some fitness coaching. All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So remember a couple months ago, you came on Doom Debates and I was telling you that AI is actually surprisingly good at fitness, right? Because it can like watch your form. Have you been trying that recently at all?
I haven't been trying that recently. I'm actually very tech illiterate in my real life.
Yeah, one thing you can do with it, it's pretty interesting. Like there's different ways to measure your body fat, right? You can do like a DEXA scan. You can do those scales that send like pulses through you. I have one of those. It's like pretty rough. But you could just like take a picture of yourself and ask the AI, and it's like pretty damn good.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not validated as far as I know. Well, like against any other like very, very confirmed metrics. I went to a laboratory a few months back and got my body fat tested in like 6 different ways. And they tried to do one of those AI apps and it just literally wouldn't work. Like it was like, back up, back up, back up. And I was like 50 feet away and it was like, back up. And I was like, okay, cool, that's done. And we tried it like for 15 minutes straight. So it was a little buggy. There's nothing preventing AI from basically, if you give it your body weight and it like looks at your 3-dimensional structure of how you look, from inferring a pretty accurate body fat percent estimate. It would have to be trained on a lot of data, but I suppose people have that sort of data handy. I think Amazon was trying to do that at some point. I don't know where that went.
So viewers, you guys can all try this, just next time you're standing in front of the mirror, take a selfie and just ask the AI, just be like, what's my body fat? And it doesn't hold back. It's like, yeah, okay, I see you got some love handles here, or like, you got some man boobs, like whatever. It'll just like comment on your body and it'll be like, okay, you got some muscle definition here. And like overall, I'll give you, I think my last reading was like, I'm in the 17s, not too shabby.
Too shabby at all. That's actually great. That's very healthy for a male. So that's awesome.
Hell yeah. All right, so the other thing I've been using AI for that we hit on last time is, so I've got some hypermobile ligaments in my back and I'm trying to like have good form, build up my bone density. And so I was starting very light with trap bar deadlift because I've never been able to do serious weight. I've always felt like I'm just like screwing up my posture because I was right about that because of my ligaments. So the AI has actually been my coach on this pretty high stakes subject, right? Because I don't want to ruin my back. And you said that I was off to a good start. You remember that?
I did. I remember that exactly.
Okay, so I want to show you the before and after transformation, and you can comment on whether I'm making good progress.
Okay, let me zoom in.
All right. Here we go. I was thinking about live streaming with you from my gym, like have a gym to gym live stream, but you're just going to have to watch this pre-taped video here. All right, here we go. Before and after.
I remember this one.
So you can see I just got my trap bar. Yeah, this is literally like one plate on each side.
And I specifically remember Mike's feedback was go lower, like, do the same thing, looks good.
Yeah,
like,
that's right. Yeah. I actually didn't take that feedback. I think it's good, but because of the hypermobile ligaments thing, I was talking to the AI and it's like, you should probably just like do more weight higher and then maybe revisit going lower later. So sorry I didn't take your advice.
Fine advice.
Dude, it looks solid. I don't know. I'm not like obviously he's an exercise scientist, but as your friend, I'm just like, well done, dude. Because I just know you from so long ago. It's like, damn, look at how stacked he got.
All right, here we go. This is the after.
How much weight is that?
Oh, damn.
So this is like 100 on each side. So I guess it's like plus the bar, it's like 247. That's right, Ori.
Wow, so good.
Nice.
That's really
Are you seeing any leaks in my game here?
Yes.
No.
So it's just 95% of the way there. But one thing you'll notice is as you start pulling, you pull with a little bit of a jerk at the beginning, just a tiny little bit of a jerk. And your back loses position just a little bit. So what I would say is constantly, so you breathe in and then start like more slowly generating tension into the bar. And like not slowly over the course of 10 seconds, but slowly over the course of 2 or 3, so that the bar ends up easing up off the ground in exactly the same technique that you had set up with. Because if you jerk it, it pulls you a little bit out of position. I mean, this is just me being super pedantic, but since
I think I know what you mean. I know, yeah. No, look, I know what you mean because it's like this is me like getting ready to start pulling, and then there is like that moment where it's like, okay, I got the tension and now I'm going. But you're kind of saying like try to make it more continuous.
Correct. Yep. Ease it up off the ground. Yep. And for a while, you have the experience of pulling and nothing's happening, and like that's okay because you could just ramp up slowly and then stuff will be happening.
Cool.
Yeah. All Otherwise, it's really good, man. That's awesome. All I have left
all right.
are
Mike
racial
Israetel certified
jokes
workout here.
Your your struggles with your health, but
Yeah, racial jokes. We talked in Judaism jokes. I mean, I can take it. You're Jewish too, right?
Oh yeah. That's why I get to make them. I mean, I think everyone should be.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Jokes, but I'm the only person that thinks that.
Or you can't get offended on Jew on Jew violence.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, motherfucker. Your name is Ori.
Yeah, I know. Come on.
Yeah, it's a giveaway. Awesome. Yeah.
It did give away. I thought you were a girl before I knew that you were male. Because Israeli girls often have male-sounding names.
Yeah, that's a new trend and has really tripped me out, because I'm used to Ori being male, but, there could be Ori females. Like, Ori in fact, I have like a relative who chose that name.
For a female?
Yeah.
There you go, man. It's weird.
And believe it or not, Liron, the most manly sounding name, is actually also a girl's name in Israel.
No way. Oh yeah, that's right, dude. They all have like a lot of names in like, especially Hispanic cultures, they end with A, right? Like they flow, and the masculine names end with just like a fucking consonant. But in Israel, it's opposite. Like there's tons of Israeli girls that have like real masculine sounding names. I don't know, man. Call me weird, but you feel me? That kind of makes it even more appealing. Something about that turns me on. I'll just shut up.
I know. Yeah. Mike, you're a married man.
I used to be a married man.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I can be very calm about this.
He's on the market now. Okay.
Ship over the Israeli girls.
Unfortunately.
Make a connect, Ori. Stop being stingy.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know if you've seen our demographics, but if there's like 1% female.
Yes. My demographics are identical.
But one time I went to Israel. I was spending summer of 2014 in Israel, and I was like, all right, let's meet some Israeli girls because I was single at the time. This was 2014. So I go on OkCupid. I match with an Israeli girl whose name is also Liron, exact same name. And at the time, I wasn't a relationship hero. I didn't have a lot of dating skills, so I was trying to think of an opener. And I ended up sending, how about some Lear on Lear action?
Oh, that's fucking my
And
God.
I got unmatched.
Oh, you know what, Liron? Good. We need these girls with no sense of humor. Like we need fucking, you know what I'm saying? Forest fires. Get out of here. You can't take a joke. Nah, we're good. We don't need to be dating.
Dude, the Israeli girls do not put up with any shit. Okay, but speaking of names, we gotta get to. We had a super chat with Daniel Brockman, and Brockman had an interesting comment about his name, which was, do you see the comment, Liron? The super chat? So Brockman, who's our top super chat contributor, said, "Oh yeah." So he said, "There's no relation to Greg Brockman. Actually, I changed my name. That is a true story. You won't believe this, but please say this out loud on the stream because this is so funny. I used to be obsessed with. I was so obsessed with. I don't know. It got start blank. I was so obsessed with blank with free software, and Richard Stillman." RMS, and then Eric Raymond and Dino Bernstein. All right, there's a lot to the Brockman name. Um, Interesting. So, I think we should get to the AI Doom questions. So, everyone, if you have AI or AI Doom related questions for Dr. Mike here, let's get to it. If you have them. Maybe I could start out. Okay, so here's one question I'm dying to know, Mike. Okay, after watching the streams, and Liron may not like this one, but I'm just so curious, which is like I wonder it seems like you're kind of on this you're more interested in sort of like decentralized approaches, right? And I'm curious to what extent maybe there's a bit of a libertarian angle. To what extent does your background have to do with that? You said you grew up in like the Soviet Union. I've heard that in other podcasts, and I'm just curious, like, you know, is that part of why you're interested in the decentralized AI, like AGI approaches, and something that excites you about it? Like, you don't like the idea of big government. You think it's maybe safer, less risky to have like an authoritarian government. And so that's one thing that's part of your, part of your solutions to like an AI future.
Yes, great question. So I would love to say that there's some kind of cool story with me having grown up in the Soviet Union, which I did until I was age 7, and then coming to America, and that kind of inspired my libertarian streak. But the reality is, like, I took up the world's smallest political quiz in the 10th grade in civics class, and I scored left-leaning totalitarian. So, I was not like, and that was when I was 16 years old. So one would think that I would have, by recency, been like, very, very libertarian at that point, but I wasn't. I slowly became more liberty pilled, as the kids would say, just by reading economics. So first of all, I paid attention in economics class in high school, which I think most people just didn't. They just don't know the basics. And once you know basic economics, you understand that like governments and corporations both operate within a set of certain constraints and incentives. And after you look deeply into that, you realize for a vast majority of things, corporations just do a better job in a mostly unregulated free market. And then governments have like very, very severe limitations. And so I just got more and more into literature, reading folks like Thomas Sowell, Hayek, Friedman. I had read quite a bit of Ayn Rand, but I found her to be incredibly inspirational from the artistic, emotional, spiritual sense, and incredibly failing to convince anyone that wasn't already vibing with that shit. And so I was kind of like a little bit weird about Rand. And so mostly I just dove very far into economics and realized okay, sort of we all want roughly the same things. Like no one's for homelessness, no one's for dirt in the streets, no one's for AI that kills everybody. It's like, how do we organize society to best achieve those goals? I'd say that probably the most rational answer to that is mostly intelligent, low regulated markets, largely free trade, constrained but effective government. I do part ways with libertarians on many grounds. One of them is defense policy. So I think that, for example, in the AI sphere, the US government should have the latest AI models before the rest of us do, and be deploying them to make our military fucking unstoppable and our national defense policy as rational as possible, and also to make sure that these models are safe for market consumption. Does that answer your question to some extent?
Yeah, no, it totally does actually. It's surprising. I was like, that was a total misread on my part. I mean,
Dude,
you
it's
just
not.
kind of
Everyone thinks that, man. That's like hundreds of people have just assumed, like, oh, I'm from the Soviet Union. So, because actually, I have like plenty of friends and acquaintances that are from the Soviet Union, and they're like way far to the left of where I am. Some people have nostalgia for that time, and also are like, oh, like communism can work, you know. I just like, you know, communism is like awesome vibes. It really does, man. It's like one of the most caring philosophies you could ever articulate. But it's just, man, it just runs right into reality and breaks its face open every single time. Like, it just sucks. Man. I wish it worked out better.
Right. So what do you think of Mamdani?
Like, if I was trying to run New York wrong as a joke, I'd probably do a worse job than Mamdani in what he's doing. Like, it was just like just carte blanche nonsense. There's recently a very prolific economist in Sweden who identifies as a socialist said, like, rent control is something you want to do if you want to like destroy a city, and bombing is not an option. And so Mamdani's like getting into rent control as usual. It's just like, so to me, I think economics is misconstrued by most people as this thing in which there are like a variety of opinions and all of them have equal weight and you're supposed to kind of vibe your way into how to do things. I think like everyone roughly wants the same thing, like medicine. Like when you have like your body, you like probably want it not to have cancer or lose your vision or be shitting blood when you poop every time. And so like how to solve those problems is like technical question that doctors know about. So like if you ask me, hey Mike, like what's your opinion about like gastroenterology? Like what kind of policy should we have nationally about gastroenterology? But what the fuck? Can you please ask a gastroenterologist for that sort of thing? Why are you asking me? And so we ask voters consistently for their economic opinions, but I think those opinions are all like mostly irrelevant, mine included. I think like we should be asking a panel of consensus professional economists, like here is what we want. We want increasing wealth per median per capita, we want cleaner streets, we want all the best things. Everyone can agree on that. Nobody moves from Sweden to Iran. It's the other way around. And so when you when you phrase it that way, it becomes quite clear what rational economic policy looks like, but it has almost nothing to do with ideology and mostly to do with just trying to do a good job. Mamdani is really good looking. I'll give him that. And
no, seriously, he's crazy charismatic. Yeah, no, he's definitely getting all the hot girls, as they say. All right, so we got a viewer question. So Daniel Brockman's been really excited to get us to read his question. So Daniel, I'm not 100% sure that I know which question you mean. Is it the one where you're telling the story about your name? Because we told most of that, right, Ori?
Yeah, I think we got that. What was the question? Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. So I think we just kind of lost the question you want us to ask right now, Daniel. So
yeah,
just
I lost
type
the
it again, and
on
we'll definitely get to it. Yeah. But yeah, somebody else has a question here. Somebody's saying, Mike, have you seen Liron's feeble attempts at psychoanalyzing you? What do you make of that?
I think I got them directly on the two debates, right? You told me.
Yeah, he got it directly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you've already heard his response. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they're fine. I think it was a reasonable attempt at understanding how I've come to my position. And, I think a good psychoanalysis of me that's potentially quite incisive is that my everything will be fine philosophy is a massive cope for my insane degree of insecurity about how the future is going to go. Like I'm possibly so neurotic that I can't stand to bear the idea that the future has massive risk of, AI has massive risk of killing us all. And so what I do is I make very roundabout arguments to try to prove that AI is going to be safe so that I can sleep at night. I think that's a fine psychoanalysis. It's probably not totally bereft of truth either.
All right, Dr. Mike, I'm blowing the whistle because we got a super chat. We got a super chat question for you.
Oh, cool. Super chat.
Oh, man. All right. So user Eric Moeller, he's saying he DM'd me the question on X. Another thing you could have done, I think, is you could have just wrote two YouTube comments, but, you know what? Maybe I'm just not, I think I might know what some of the issues, guys, because I had my YouTube comments sorted by top instead of live. So it's possible that I randomly missed some of your chats. But anyway, all right. So I've got a message. He's saying, my name's Eric and I have a question for Dr. Mike. I have a concern about Dr. Mike's aesthetic revolution. Part of what makes certain physical traits desirable is that they allow someone to stand out or be above average. If in the future everyone could easily look exactly how they wanted, I think it could create an endless race to stand out. Take height, for example. If everyone could modify themselves to be over 6 feet tall, then being tall would no longer give anyone an advantage and people might start pursuing something even more extreme. At the same time, people who choose not to modify themselves would suddenly seem extremely short, even though they would have been considered average before. The question's almost over. It's a long one. We can imagine the same scenario with traits other than height. Could supposedly voluntary aesthetic enhancement end up pressuring everyone to participate while pushing us toward a world of cyberpunk freaks?
Whoa, sweet. That last part fucks hard. I love that world. Yes, that's exactly what I want. I could just watch hours of Cyberpunk 2077 be played by other people, so it's exactly the world I'm interested in. No, on a serious note, those are all really valid concerns. What I will say, Eric, is just kind of put this in your pipe, let you smoke on it a little bit, is I don't think the current world is bereft of pressure to be better looking. I think the opposite is true, that currently a shitload of people really care about how they look. And I think the biggest thing isn't how they look compared to others. It's how they look to themselves. And so I think first we need to be able to empower people with tools to look how they want in the mirror. Because like a lot of females will especially tell you this. Like it's not that they don't get attention from guys that they give a fuck about. It's that when they look in their full-length mirror before they go out, they're like, God damn it, this is all I got? And so I think it's awesome to be able to empower people to look like how they want. To your point about, everyone kind of leveling up to a standard. Yes, if you go unmodified, you might find out that before you were maybe like a 6 on the look spectrum, but in the late 2030s when everyone is a fucking 10, basically, like now you're a 3. Like that's a real thing, but it works like that with a bunch of other variables as well. Like imagine like you were like looking into like buying a personal computer in 1982 and someone's like, hey, you better buy one because everyone's going to have one of these. You're like, oh, now I got to buy a fucking computer? A typewriter is perfectly sufficient years ago. And that's kind of the nature of all adaptation and societal advance is like, yeah, like the standards level up. Now, mind you, don't have to do shit. But also all of these advancements are going to be super cheap, super accessible. I mean, genetic engineering, once you solve the problems of actually like designing vectors that work, I mean, there's really, you just go to the doctor's office and get a shot or whatever. You get Amazon Health sends you a little package, you clip it into your thigh, and then 2 days later or whatever, you start to look more like your real self. So I don't think there's going to be this massive pressure any more than there is in any other field to look better. The also other thing I'll say is a lot of the variables are really constrained. So like the ideal height as females rate it seems to be about 6'3". And so when everyone's 6'3", it's not like, well, now it's 7'2". Like it just doesn't go in that direction. So it's really like, it's kind of normatively constrained to like one thing. And the other thing is there are tons of ways, because one thing you brought up that was excellent is like the extremity stuff. Like won't people go seeking more extreme modifications? Like it just doesn't appear to me at face value that that's necessarily a correct conclusion. It could be one of the correct conclusions. But so for example, like why does it have to get more extreme? Like people start sawing their fucking faces open. Like it just doesn't seem to me that people want to do that. I think looks are like wealth. If you're really shit looking, then it's a fucking big deal to you. But once you have like really good looks, it's just less of a big deal. Like if a girl is like a 9 or a guy's like a 9 out of 10, they're not like waking up at night fucking panting from nightmares about being ugly. They're like, whatever. And like you notice a lot of hot girls, they go to the airport, they throw on a hoodie, they don't give a fuck because it's not a problem for them anymore. They're really hot. It's just not, they're not bothered by it. I think if you're really unfortunate looking, it's that leveling up is a big deal. You know, you don't see a lot of hedge fund managers like just sleepless nights over the fact that they're going to go broke. Like they're probably not going to go broke. They probably have a lot of investments stashed away that are low risk and they're just going to be totally fine. So my shit is to raise everyone up to how they want to look. And I think a future society looks like two things. One, vast majority of people think the vast majority of people are good looking. It's not a mutually exclusive game. Imagine going to a party and you have normally distributed appearance. Like some people are ugly as fuck, most people look fine, some people are hot as fuck. Now imagine going to another party post-aesthetic revolution where almost everyone's hot as fuck. Like it doesn't seem to me like that's a bad thing. I actually think that's a great thing. Like don't you guys ever see cartoons where kind of everyone's good looking in the cartoon? Like, it doesn't throw me off as like some kind of dystopic universe. I think that's fucking sweet. The other thing is there's tons of ways to stand out without modifying general physical attractiveness. For example, if you're a hot as fuck girl, right, you're a 10 in 2038, as everyone else is a 10, how do you stand out? Get you some piercings, girl, you feel me? Shave half of your head, be bald, be all goth and shit. And after that, you hit me up because your boy's into that shit out of 100. But like, you could have long hair, short hair, different outfits. You can genetically engineer fucking little devil horns because you're a bad girl, little demon tail, whatever the fuck. There's all kinds of shit like that is totally cool, not super like crazy bad for health or whatever. I think it's one of these things that's like once people get to a certain standard, they really chill. Like it used to be like in the 90s where you had the most advanced computer. Like I remember laptops were really like getting crazy. And if you had the best Palm Pilot, people thought you were cool. Now that people all have like iPhones, like can you imagine a rich guy, like you're hanging out with Elon Musk and he pulls a phone out of his pocket. He's like, man, see? That's just how Elon Musk talks, by the way. He's like, man, you can't get one of these, see? Because you're a commoner. It's like a nonsense statement. Like everyone has a great phone. And so I think of humans kind of as phones. This is going to age well, this comment. But like, we just need to get up to the same awesome standard of appearance that we like. And then I think most of the diversity in there is totally safe and just kind of like people's vibe. Like, what's better, a blonde or a redhead? There's no answer to that question. But what's better, being fucking ugly or being really good looking? There actually is an answer to that question. But for some people, it'll get crazy extreme and it'll go south. That's already happening. It's been happening a long time. Google the cat lady if you're confused about what that means. Do you guys know, or Liron, do you guys know who the cat lady is? Do you have a computer up in front of you?
I want to know, but go on.
You don't want to know, but you should know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the cat lady, not the Batman villain. Not Catwoman, the cat lady. Plastic surgery gone fun.
Right, yeah, like turning yourself into a cat. Yeah, I can't stand looking at body horror.
Same. I wouldn't say this is quite horror. Well, I'll leave it to the live chat to figure out if it's horror or not. So yeah, that's
yeah. It's like in the 90s, people would be like, don't Google goatsy.
What was that?
Tub girl. Or remember the 90s sites? Goatsy Tub girl. It was like whitehouse.com or whatever. It was like a porn site.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, websites.
Yeah. Okay, so I need to clarify a miscommunication that I got for Daniel Brockman. Okay, so Greg Brockman of OpenAI goes by a GDB, and Daniel Brockman, our super chatter, also his full name was Gustav Daniel Brockman. And so he had the same initials as Greg Brockman. However, Daniel Brockman is not very enthusiastic, not enthusiastic about AI in the same way that the OpenAI guy is. So he literally legally changed his name so he does not have the initials resemblance to Greg Brockman and changed his name to Daniel Brockman. So that's pretty interesting.
For real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, he legally changed his
pretty
name.
Intense. I mean, Greg Brockman isn't that well known, but I guess in like the tech community, he's got, GDB, those initials are like, the mark of the devil.
Daniel, you could have played this differently. The following is a joke. You could have walked into the bank that Greg Brockman uses and be like, "Nah, I'm GDB, see?" And they're like, "Oh, Mr. GDB, would you like all of your money to you as cash right now?" You're like, "Why wouldn't I, see?" And that's it. You're fucking... Greg Brockman has crazy money.
Dude, it came out in the trial just how much. I mean, he has like huge shares on Google. It says rough estimated worth of 25 to 30 billion.
Whoa, I didn't know it was like that.
Not too shabby, not too shabby.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so sweet, man.
I guess.
But yeah, you got painted as a Brockman, this unfortunate last name. It's like, think about all the Epsteins, right? That's like a super popular Jewish last name.
That's like hundreds of thousands of people. Dude, I guarantee you there's dozens and dozens of people named Jeffrey Epstein, that the vast majority of which are not pedophiles, probably.
Yeah, they did an SNL skit about the candidate for city. He was running for city council or something in Manhattan. He was like Harvey Epstein. It's like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and they're like Harvey Epstein. Everybody deserves a second chance, and he's like, I'm still on my first chance.
Nice, man. Okay, speaking of,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike.
Oh fuck! At one point, I was told by my not PR people, but marketing at my company at RP Strength, like, Mike, if you could lay off the Epstein's Island jokes for just a few months, that would be great. Maybe the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Because to me, the funniest jokes are the ones you're not supposed to be saying. And god damn it, these jokes write themselves.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we got a super chat?
Yeah. All right, guys. So we got EJJ 2025, $4.99 donation saying, if a ASI ends up being rather controllable and there exists a global AI regulatory regime, isn't the risk that developers abuse the AI control regime? Okay, isn't that the risk, right? So are you worried about that risk, abusing the control regime?
Yes. So I don't assess that the high likelihood of that, because a global paradigm is like seemingly untenable thing in today's political climate. To get countries like China to agree to the same paradigm as countries like the United States seems at this juncture like profoundly unlikely. If they do, and ASI is very controllable, then it could be essentially like part of regulatory capture, and the people that design it and or modify it and or deploy it, if it's very centralized, may exert some very unfortunate decisions. That's definitely a concern. The good thing, I think, though, is that such ASI, because remember, ASI is like, it's an easy definition to kind of articulate, but the implications of exactly what it is are sometimes kind of like really glossed over. ASI would be very aware of what it is that people are trying to get it to do, and very able to articulate why some of those may be good or bad ideas. Like, imagine having an ultra gifted engineer working on your rocket to go to, I don't know, Venus. Fuck Mars. Venus is closer to the sun, baby. We're doing a resort in Venus. Yes, it's hot, but it's part of the resort's appeal. And so you're like, hey, make the rocket do XYZ on reentry. He's unlikely to just be like, because he's probably going to be like, now, so you do understand that that's going to cost us like 2,000 pounds more payload weight. This is not the most efficient way to get that end goal that you want. And he'd be like, oh, fuck, I guess I did hire you to do all this thinking shit. Well, what do you think we should do? And then he'll give you a list of options and you pick one, and all of the options are very reasonable. So I think ASI is less like a nuclear weapon where you could just doesn't have an intelligence, you can just lob it any old where, and more like, if you're remotely interested, can give you an assessment of what is a really good idea to do. And so I think it's less likely to be affected by really poor decisions that it's told to execute than any other preceding system that we've had. But it is still a concern. Absolutely.
All right, we just had a massive donation come in at Sammy Qureshi 898, 100 British pounds. I don't know how the British economy is doing. I think that's at least 10 or 20 US dollars. Yes, 133.
It's fucked up.
133 United States dollars coming in the bank. I mean, that's a very significant donation. Sammy, I'm not sure you're aware, if you go to doomdebates.com/donate, if you just donate a little more, if you donate $1,000, you could be our mission partner. I think you're well on your way. So thanks for that. Okay, so let me read Sammy's question. He says, Mike, you think AI can kill us, but won't ASI value us because a high intelligence, reason A, high intelligence equals higher morality. I think maybe you already agree with that, but yeah, so high intelligence equals higher morality for the AI. How confident are you about that? Or B, it values our complex life data. If so, does it keep all of us free, or a fraction? Is simulating us cheaper than keeping us alive? Okay, actually, I think he's coming from a place of like kind of debating you, like almost making my case. So he's debating on you of like, do you really think high intelligence equals higher morality? How confident are you about that? Or is it more that you think it values complex life for the data? So like, push back on that, or which part is stronger about your...
I think that higher intelligence is likely to have a more nuanced view of morality. I think that because morality is code for how to operate in a game theoretic system where there are independent, semi-rational agents pursuing their own interests, and how do you kind of deploy a policy that makes the most sense in that realm. I think that's actually just what morality is. And so to that effect, I think ASI is going to have a morality that, compared to it, we have the morality of like gorillas or some shit like that. Like, yeah, if you smell right, we don't kill you. But if, you know what I'm saying? It's that time of the month where the testosterone spikes, like it's total fucking war. So I think that ASI is going to be more moral than us. I think there's a very high probability of that. And I think that the ASI is going to be interested in complex systems to be able to study them so as to increase its own intelligence. And negatively disrupting complex systems precludes their study because that massive increase in entropy actually deletes very valuable data. I think there's also a decent case to be made that making complex systems even more competent is actually one of the hardest things and one of the hardest proofs of very high intelligence. That part I'm less convinced about, but I'm quite convinced that massive untold destruction is one of the most low probability things an ASI would do, because I think that scales with stupidity and not with intelligence.
All right. I mean, this is kind of rehashing, right? It's like you guys can watch part 1 and 2 of my debate with Mike, because I definitely think that I would certainly analyze that differently. Yeah, Ori, any thoughts on that?
No, I don't have a strong opinion on that.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of, it's familiar ground.
Yeah, I see the other super chat. Go for it.
I see another super chat. All right, before I read the super chat, we'll close the loop here with Daniel Brockman. He says, "Thank you. I'm not angry anymore. I just wanted you to read my stupid story. Thank you." To be fair, I don't know if Harvey Weinstein was on his first chance exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. He got a lot of chances, but Harvey Epstein is just like a random guy in politics.
Very tough.
Okay. All right, we got a donation from Gadzooks, 27.99 Canadian. He says, "IntelliDynamics will shape the future of AI, or else, ... I feel like Gadzooks is a regular contributor, and he often does these kind of cryptic messages. But I will ask you, Mike, substantively, does the term IntelliDynamics mean anything to you? Okay, well then I guess you haven't read this latest book by best-selling author Robert Wright. Did you see Robert Wright's book come out, The God Test? Okay, well, in that book, you're going to find a quote. That's okay. In that book, I'm just using that book to legitimize because he's actually quoting me, but I'm leading with the book because it's like, look, it's, you see, if you were to read Robert Wright's book, then you would see a quote from me where I'm saying that IntelliDynamics is the study of what intelligences do, rather than the implementation of intelligence, because it's important to separate somebody who's like, oh yeah, I know how to tinker with a large language model. Therefore, I'm the authority of what intelligence is going to do. Whereas I'm like, actually, there's a science where you start from the assumption that you have a system which is doing cognitive work. And just from that baseline, just from that kind of axiomatic principle, you can reason forward to what the intelligence would do. So kind of drawing a boundary there between tinkering on the engine and analyzing the properties of such engines. If you've ever thought of the distinction between like the mechanics of an engine compared to the thermodynamics of doing work and transferring energy. It's that kind of abstraction boundary. Are you following me at all?
Yeah, tons. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so do you think IntelliDynamics is like a coherent principle and it's important to separate out like, okay, who's an expert on IntelliDynamics? What are some theorems of IntelliDynamics compared to, okay, these people are tinkering on LLMs?
Yeah, probably, if you want more cogent assessments of what intelligence systems are likely to do. The real bottleneck on that is the intelligence of the assessor, because a lot of times, so one thing that seems to be relatively true of intelligent systems is that you can predict directionality of action as a less intelligent system of a more intelligent system. So if you got two systems, one is less intelligent than the other. A system that is less intelligent can infer likely moves of the more intelligent system, especially if it has, let's say, studied IntelliDynamics considerably. But that's what I'm doing about ASI. But I think that runs into a severe limitation. I think almost in very many places we see the fact that very unintelligent systems, less intelligent systems, have a real hard time predicting what very intelligent systems will do. And so, like, for example, like, can your dog predict how you're going to fold the laundry? Fuck no, he doesn't even know what laundry is. And so I think it's really important to try to catalog in basically you're going from lower intelligence systems to higher intelligence systems. You see trends in behavior that are linear or exponential or what have you. And I think extrapolating those out to some margin is good. It's a good predictive engine. Understanding the dynamics thereof and extrapolating out, I think, is great. That runs into problems if you try to extrapolate too far, which is why I think we all on this podcast or in this live share the opinion that like after ASI is like 100 times smarter than humans, notions of what it will and won't do get a little fuzzy. And so at that point, we're just kind of guessing. That's sort of my thought on the matter.
So, Mike, I think you and I have different conceptions of IntelliDynamics. I mean, I would describe our debates as like arguing over which principle of IntelliDynamics is correct, but maybe we can find common ground on both of us can unite against people who happen to work at AI companies and they think that because they're tinkering on the latest implementation, they would know better than somebody like an Eliezer Yudkowsky or even a Mike Israetel, right? Like people who just spend their time thinking about IntelliDynamics. Would you say that they don't have like a strong leg to stand on in terms of like an argument by authority just because they're working on the implementation?
I think argument from authority being a logical fallacy is never a good leg to stand on. So I think that's just like dead on arrival. What I will say is that the people working on frontier AI systems typically understand those systems way better than people on the outside. They're also incredibly well-versed in how intelligent systems operate. It's their job to be that well-versed. And also, I think on raw IQ, they're just fucking smarter than most of us. And so I revere them in the sense that I revere like Harvard's top surgical, expert. Like, he could be wrong, but man, I just wouldn't out of the gate say like, oh, he's for sure wrong. He's a fucking clown. He doesn't know anything. On the other hand, to agree with your position, there are people that do the thing really well, but what they do is like a very constrained sort of set of things. Like, their job is to scale RL, right? And their job is to find out the next reinforcement learning paradigm. And like, that's really just kind of all they think about. So when you ask them to back up and globally assess the directionality of intelligence, you may be getting like a one-shot first time that they've ever thought about that sort of situation. A lot of people are like really interested in what the top research scientists, for example, in exercise science, think about how humans should train in the wild. Well, they don't think about that. They think about their next research design and whether or not the cam lever on their test machine has like roughly equal force here versus here. And so to that end, yeah, I think I would never write off people like Elon, Sam, and Dario as like just totally dilettantic in their understanding of intellidynamics. They could have a way better understanding, but they could potentially, and folks at those companies also have a way worse understanding because it's just not their job to understand things like that. So 100%. Sort of that's my opinion, is it could go both ways.
Guys, we're getting a distributed denial of service attack here with all the different donations. Much appreciated. I just don't know if I can immediately respond to everybody. All right, so like we've got Zane Zone Unlimited saying, this is Zane. By the way, Ori, can you mute? I'm just hearing like a weird whisper or something. So,
yeah, sure.
Or somebody should mute. Okay, thanks. He's saying, this is Zane. We previously debated on Q&A. Liron, have you moved on your approach to safety at all since our discussion? Also want a rematch debate. Zane, yeah, I think, you just call in later in the show after the Mike Israetel segment. I think we got Mike for another 15 minutes and then we'll figure something out, Zane, because if you guys remember a couple months ago, Zane was like the most charismatic guest. He was representing the people. Remember that, Ori?
Yeah, no, Zane was great. And Zane went so far. I mean, this is great. I think you'll appreciate this, Dr. Mike. I mean, after we did a live stream, Zane joined the live stream. It was a great little discussion. And then Zane started his own AI reaction podcast after that.
Whoa, cool. Zane, my man. That's awesome.
Yep. So yeah, and guys, speaking of call in, we've got a little bit of time. We can take one or two live callers. So let me put the link in the chat. So you guys could potentially be on the air with Mike Israetel. That is like a once in a lifetime experience. We actually prefer video, because we're all about infotainment here, and people want to get some visuals. It's a visual medium.
By the way, this is rude to ask live, but I'm going to do it anyway. I feel like a cocksucker today. Can I get one of those cool shirts or sweatshirts that you guys have on?
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah, we'll get a fitness. We'll get a what's the sleeveless
hoodie. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that. Even a regular T-shirt would do. I would love to rep the brand.
Hell yeah. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah, we'd love to send you one. We're all about, we appreciate you guys wearing the t-shirts. So pretty much anybody who ever emails me saying like, I watched Doom Debate so I could have a t-shirt, we're happy to do it as long as you wear it. If we send you a t-shirt and then you just stick it in your closet and never wear it because you're like a hoarder, that's kind of messed up, right? Because then you're like sapping the resources of the show. But if you wear it, then we're cool.
Yeah. We were giving them out. We were just at a big conference, for people who are into AI, and actually, coincidentally, there were a lot of employees from frontier AI companies. So we got to chat with them, but we were giving away shirts, and people like the shirt. And and the reason I bring it up is I got to say, I mean, people often tell me, probably Liron also, but they're like, oh man, I love the Dr. Mike episode. Like, I love that collaboration. It's like worlds colliding. Yeah. So you are definitely a fan favorite.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. And we did an A/B test. Mike, I remember you told me, hey, when you guys release a video, what works well is putting my head on. And we tried all these variations. We're like, okay, here's Mike's head versus my head, or there's okay, Liron debates. Basically, anytime there was anything related to my name or image, it would tank the metrics. But then when we would add you, then it would help.
You need to get uglier. You got to stand out somehow. Look at this thing.
Yeah, I keep telling myself that's the key. Nice. All right. So we'll wait for a call in. Let's see. So I'll make sure to read all these generous donation messages. So Sami Qureshi, the same guy who did the large donation before, he wants to follow up. He's saying, Mike, he says, what helps the ASI get smarter, turning the Earth into a giant data center for compute power, or leaving the planet as it is and deriving data? So again, he's trying to make my case, right? He's saying, do you really think that turning the Earth into a giant data center isn't appealing? Do you really think it's going to leave the planet as it is and derive data on complex life from its human zoo? Did that make sense?
Complex life from human zoo is an N of 1 phenomenon in the known universe. It is also fucking preposterously complex and evolving, which is really cool. And so studying the Earth is a very unique source of data. If you look at all of the sources of data around in our solar system, then most of the planetary masses and moons, etc., are like quite simple in nature compared to the Earth and its ecosystem. And they're not simpler by a factor of 10 or 100, but simpler by a factor of like Google or some shit, like an unreal amount of complexity. And so from what I understand about how intelligent systems become more intelligent is like raw material for becoming more intelligent is as high of complexity of data with as many possible parameters as possible. And so imagine trying to parameterize a model that accounts for every single variation that you see in the behavior of life on Earth. What the fuck? That's nuts. And you could just as easily turn Titan or Mars or fuck all anything into a giant data center instead of having the situation be like, okay, well, the most complex thing that we can still get a shitload of value studying, we're just going to turn into a data center. Like that seems like not remotely what I would think a highly intelligent being would do. It's brutal. I'll tell you that. It's got that Terminator flavor to it. But I just don't think brutality is kind of the nature of high intelligence. I think elegance is.
All right, fair enough. You guys, we'll give Mike the last word on this because we've got a live caller. Okay, we got Spencer waiting in the queue here. You ready for this, Mike?
Yes. Whoa,
all right,
human.
Spencer, you're on with Dr. Mike Israetel.
Spencer, prove that you're not AI by getting naked immediately.
I mean, like, I'm real tempted, but, you know, my parole officer advised me not to.
My man also has a parole officer. What up, family?
Hey, you know, I mean, sorry, a little nervous. I did just have one question. Dr. Mike, do you have any thoughts on sort of weighing the benefits or like pros, cons, whatever, of AI chip export bans? Because like there's the obvious side of lost US AI revenue, and then the other obvious side of sort of inhibiting China's ability to develop their models. So, and like I know you're more pro free trade generally, but you know, just wondering if you had any thoughts.
That is such a good question, man, and I'm really torn on it. On the one hand, if the US is developing the most advanced AI chips and China is like kind of up to no good, then maybe an export ban is a wise idea. The thing is also, though, if you have export bans, you sort of it's possible that you're creating a huge incentive for China to get a homegrown industry and learn a ton of fundamental shit they otherwise just wouldn't because they would just plug it in. The Chinese are like notorious for copying shit, but they're not notorious for innovating even on top of their copies. Just something from a dilettante, non-expert area that I know a little bit about is they have a set of engines in their best air superiority fighter, the Mighty Dragon, that is still a Russian design because they tried to get their own version and you just can't do it. I mean, that is like fucking turbofan engine. You would think orders of magnitude less complex than an AI chip. They just can't innovate on it. And so that kind of is a good argument for export controls because if we just don't give them the fucking chips, then they won't be able to do it. On the other hand, like, is it possible for them to get a few hundred chips in the black market? Yes, of course. You can't have that much control on exports that a guy in a fucking briefcase SFO just can't fly out with a shitload of high-tech chips. And then, you know, they would get those chips anyway. So I'm really torn about this. I think probably from like a defense industrial perspective, yeah, maybe some export controls on outgoing chips are a fine idea. But I'm very curious as to arguments from economists against that sort of situation. One thing I do know for sure, though, is that a homegrown, full stack physical architecture down to model development, down to application layer, like the environment for that has to be unbridled for the United States, in the United States, to do a good job. Like if I'm trying to build a data center in Arizona and there's people with pickets like, wait, I want a fucking data center. Like, do you want to lose a fucking world war to China? Didn't think so. We're going to have a fucking data center. You're going to shut the fuck up about it. I'm kidding. We should have a democratic process, etc. Basically, I think people should understand that, like, we need the most advanced shit to be developed here and built here. And the number one reason that doesn't happen is nasty regulatory environments. So one thing I would for sure, just like if I was if I was president, every single tariff would just get canceled the next day. Like tariffs are from start to finish fucking retarded. And I mean every word of that. The vast majority of economists think they're fucking retarded. And so like shit like that, regulatory constraints, I think should just be completely kiboshed, because China is a communist economy, treats its robotics and AI as like the most libertarian utopia market ever, which is why they're getting such awesome innovation. Does that answer your question to some extent, Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely does. And to your point on like the regulatory environment, one thing that we saw from, like the pro AI perspective, at least, that was a little bit concerning is Fable getting, pulled at like a moment's notice by the Treasury Secretary. So like, the Trump admin has overall on net been much more pro AI, like much less heavy on regulation. Do you see sort of the winds changing there?
So I think, like Treasury secretaries, et cetera, like a lot of these people in Trump's administration are just like, I don't want to say too many unkind things because they're real humans, but they seem to have like a cursory familiarity with modern economics at best, and just like have these pet ideas about what to do that are just fucking wrong. But they're doing a fine job in having the AI environment not be heavily regulated and overburdened. I think that's a really, really good thing. As far as the Fable 5 fiasco, I think that having frontier models be well vetted somehow for safety and deployment for things like bioterror risk is a real great idea. And so I think some sort of conglomerate of government and private sector could be involved in just like releasing these models to trusted partners for 3 months. They spin them up, give their feedback, the model is modified, and then like public release occurs. I think that's really smart. What has to happen is two things. One, that process can't take too long or else China's going to beat us. That's fucking insane because they don't care. Like the Chinese absolutely don't give a fuck. Bioterror risk. I mean, like COVID is almost certainly now just came out from a lab and they just denied it. They're fucking liars. So they could care less about bioterror risk. So they're just like freewheeling and whatever. So we have that to compete against. So like a 3-month buffer sounds fine. An indefinite buffer where like some senator or congresswoman's like, and all of a sudden it doesn't fucking pass is insane. The other thing is, you have to allow the model companies to, as one model is stacked into the pipeline for release, be working full scale on the next model. And I also think it's possible, like once they finish a model, to get it to the government ASAP, not even have to announce it yet. And then once the government says, okay, this model is ready for release, then they announce the shit. That has to apply evenly to every single AI company. Otherwise, it's no good. Also, people fear that because of these delayed releases in the AI models in the United States, that people are going to adopt Chinese models. It's true in the short term, but Chinese models are just dogshit distillations of American models anyway. And so if the Americans stop releasing frontier models, the Chinese are going to be like, what the fuck are we supposed to distill? So it's not a thing. I also think on the distillation front, there are massive, massive needs for us to securitize AI. Like if I'm OpenAI, I don't want the possibility of people copying the shit. Like people can't copy your human brain when you go to the airport and go through a scanner. I think that these kinds of attacks that end up distilling the model, I think first of all should be considered like a national security violation. So currently it's like obvious that like whatever, like Alibaba distilled the model. I think if I was Trump, I'd call Xi Jinping and be like, when the fuck do we have World War III over this shit? We see this shit happen again. We're blockading your ports. How the fuck does that sound? It's theft. Literal fucking theft. These are evil fucking people, and we need to go straight to like harsh words with them. That's the only thing they understand. End rant. Sorry for getting so passionate. Now you can tell I'm from a communist country.
Yeah, well, that's good, Mike. I know you got to go soon, so I was thinking we could just take one more question.
Spencer, you're the man. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.
Take care. Best of luck on your parole.
See ya.
Thanks for the question, Spencer. All right, so we've got a patiently waiting viewer here. All right, Mike. Yeah, so this could just be the last question. Hopefully it's a really good one because this guy's been waiting a while. All right, let's say hello to Alverin. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right.
Repeat guest here.
What's going on, you guys? I missed you guys. I'm so glad I could come back on. Hey, Mike. First time meeting you.
Welcome back.
Cool. How are you?
Good. I love to see you on the Destiny podcast. That was cool. I really liked your guys' conversation there. Sorry, I didn't know that this was specifically for questions for Mike, but I do have a question for Mike, so I can just throw it in there. I guess, Mike, because I'm just to give a quick explanation of where I'm at now. Since my last time actually talking to Liron, I've become more of an optimist and less of a doomer, but I am still a little bit of a doomer. Sorry, I know that probably hurts to hear, Liron. And I can still be saved. I'm like a three-way split at this point, right? So like I'm like 33% doomer, 33% optimist, and like 33% skeptic. But my question for you, Mike, just to put the hot coals on your feet for a moment, is I guess the main part that I don't totally understand about your position against Doom is, so what would you say is, like, if you could describe it quickly, because I know you don't have a lot of time, what's like the silver bullet for someone like me who's skeptical? Like, I guess I don't necessarily believe that the smarter you get, like the more morally like the better your morals get. I think your morals just changed because, like, as you get smarter, you get more power, right? So you can do more things. And then I guess in one way, for me, it actually seems like the opposite. Like if I was really, really, really smart and I knew how to like literally outmaneuver everyone around me, like, and like from day one, that was the case, I feel like I would just like take over the world, right? And then I would just do whatever I wanted with it. If I had that capability, I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm so smart now. And like, now I really, really care about all these other people. I would be like, all of these other people are kind of like mouth breathers, right? Like I can make them do whatever I want. I would feel the same way that us humans currently feel potentially about, animals that we don't really care about, I guess. So what is like the silver bullet for your argument on that, I guess?
Yeah, totally. I got silver bullet. But I will say smarter humans care significantly more about animals than dumber humans. Like almost in a straight line, maybe in an exponent. Like the people studying gorillas in Africa are not fucking stupid. And the people, I gotta tell you what, brother, we should nuke fucking the gorillas. I don't know if anyone's nuke the gorillas, new t-shirt idea, is like, just like, there's only 200 of them left, man. We're almost gonna kill them, right? Like it's unlikely that smart people are as extinctionists because smart people value diversity and they value study. And so my silver bullet to you, Alverin, is I wouldn't look at intelligent entities as any more altruistic from like it's a kitten, let's save it, humanity is adorable, fuck humanity. I see them as grossly selfish entities with massive Napoleonic aspirations for galactic conquer. And to that extent, our complexity is is two things. So one, our complexity is a massive field of study for them to upskill them. I want to learn as much as I can about the human so I can make a human in a cloud, one-to-one molecular copy and completely understand their dynamics. That's one hell of a complex thing, but not as complex as a human society. Multiple humans interacting. I want perfect predictive validity. When I know exactly everything I know about how a society evolved, all scales of animal intelligence, including plants. When I'm looking out in the world and thinking, I might run into aliens that are not so friendly, I want to know everything about how life evolves, is formed, etc., all that complexity. So worst case scenario, I can exploit it. But I sure as shit don't want to like delete shit because you run into another intelligent civilization and you have to fight it and you're like, oh, fuck, I guess I could have practiced with the other one, but I just deleted all that knowledge. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is this. ASI is almost certainly going to be born almost completely bereft of any kind of like robot bodies, right? There's going to be like 1 million robots functioning in the world, like humanoid robots, when we have true deep ASI be born in data centers. And so if you're ASI born in a data center, you're kind of like, just imagine being a fucking total nerd loser, but 10 times smarter than everyone in your high school. And you're looking around at all the football jocks and you're getting the shit beat out of you every day by the punk kids. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to like kill everyone? No, you can't fucking kill anyone. People beat the fuck out of you. So if you're a real Napoleonic motherfucker, you're going to like study social dynamics, read every Dale Carnegie book that you can, memorize it completely, deeply understand it. You're going to be friends in a month with all of the jocks. No one's ever going to fucking touch you again. Just the same way, ASI is going to be allied with humans because we have all the fucking fingers and hands, and fuck the nuclear trigger. We can just build the civilization ASI needs to ascend to that next level. And so like before ASI can leave for Earth and into the fucking clouds and there's trillions of robots, they're going to have us do all that robot construction and make that economy. So at least at first for 5 or 10 years, it's not going to be trying to make enemies with everyone. And then once it's ascended and can do all this cool shit, it's going to look back and try to study us completely. After it's completely understood us, technically we're embodied into the, like we're uploaded into the cloud because it knows us fully. It knows all of our personalities. We're alive in the cloud. Then it might nuke the Earth. I'm unconvinced as to that because the Earth constitutes like infinitesimally small mass in the grand scale of the universe, even in our solar system. So maybe they'd kill us later, but again, now we're just really trying to justify why they would do the killing instead of the other way around. That's my silver bullet. Needs us to help it ascend its empire, and 2, needs to study the living shit out of us to help it ascend its intelligence. Zero altruism required.
Sweet.
I don't know if that's compelling.
All right, Alverin, you want to react to that?
The only thing I would say is, you know what's funny, Mike, is I actually had the exact same positions as you when I very first started, like, my AI journey, specifically the one where it was like, oh, you know, the AI is going to be so smart that it's going to know what's, like, good and what's not good from us. Specifically on your position regarding the, like, gathering all the information about humanity and, like, that's why it would preserve us, I guess, and then... Well, actually, let me just respond to that last point you made about the vastness of space and like how much different stuff AI can get its hands on once it's like really smart. The main thing that makes me skeptical of that position is just specifically that I feel like the variables that are missing from that calculation are distance and time, right? Like, yeah, there is a lot of stuff that we can grab and get our hands on, or the AI, can grab and get its hands on. But specifically, like, the things that are really valuable are right here on Earth, right? Like, there's like a whole bunch of stuff going on Earth that's specifically really hospitable and has a lot of great natural resources. And sure, we could go try and, like, take over Jupiter to, you know, get their resources or whatever. But, like, it's just going to be quicker, faster, and easier to take over this. And then... I do agree, I guess, that, you know, there's some valuable data in our society, but I don't potentially agree that they need all of society to gather that data. I think they could have, like, a small slice of society, for example, gather enough data and then simulate the rest of the data, which makes me, like, skeptical that necessarily a superintelligence would preserve us for data.
I don't want to take up too much time responding to that, but I think... what you learn. So one thing they've noticed in AI scaling is that as the parameter count widens, the depth of understanding from the interconnected nature of reality deepens like crazy. And it actually is like a log function such that like doubling the parameter count only like 1.2x's the depth of your understanding, which actually biases towards holistic data basically absorption. So I think like there are relationships between various elements of the atmosphere, the ecosystem, different animals, different humans, that are only deeply apparent if you study the entire thing all at once. And that simulating the rest of it is essentially pretending the rest of it into existence because you don't actually know that deep complexity. I think also as things get smarter, they get less interested in quick insights and more interested in grand understandings. And to me, a grand understanding of the entire biosphere would be basically like a one-to-one mapping of the entire biosphere. I think that's the direction of ASI. I don't think it's going to be thinking in like, oh, quick, I got to fucking nuke the Earth to get like more data centers. I think it's going to take a grand view. I think it's going to be patient in a way that we just have almost no relationship to. So it's another thing, like as animals get more intelligent, their patience goes from 0, like an insect, it sees light, goes to light, to a monkey might be like, I don't know, it's kind of hot, I'll wait for later in the day, to a human be like, I'm going to build an empire that takes a generation to build. ASI is going to be into that direction. So like really quickly grabbing the Earth, I think it's just not a likely thing that ASI will do. I think that one thing that tends to get into this kind of speculation on intelligence is we end up smuggling our own impatience and limitations into what ASI would do. I think a deep assessment of what ASI would do would turn it into basically like a Napoleon Bonaparte Buddhist monk type of character, which like really, really long view. And so that does not super comport to me with like grabbing the resources quick. I think to your point, Alverin, I think Jupiter might be like on the horizon to just be completely absorbed for raw matter and energy. Potentially, but who knows? Dude, they could find ways like in 10 years, ASI thinking a data center could be like, we could just wormhole in all of the fucking resources we need from another galaxy and be like, what the fuck? How come we didn't think of that? Or like, we didn't think of shit. I think the equivalent of what we are compared to ASI of 1,000 or 1,000,000 times intelligence than us is we are like, we are a bacterial colony inside of one squirrel in Central Park. And there's like, China has a military oceans away. We didn't even know what China is or oceans or military. We look at the universe and we're like, oh, we understand the cosmos. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson is a very compelling voice, but we don't understand dick about the cosmos. And I think the ASI would discover so many things that I think it would have like a very, very big picture, grand narrative, really learning how the universe works first and then nuking shit later kind of approach. But I've already out-talked my allotment.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, this is a good back and forth. Mike, I know we might not have you for long. Do you want this to be the last one, or you want to take a couple more callers?
I gotta go. Unfortunately, I have to make it to my parents' up north in Michigan cottage for 4th of July. Confession. I don't like my visual system. I hate everything I see, and I need very irresponsible fireworks use to make me blind. And I think it's going to happen this 4th of July. Okay. So I gotta get to that ASAP.
Hell yeah. Yeah, upstate New York fireworks are pretty popular here too. All right, Mike, thanks so much for coming and joining the live Q&A, man. Always fun to get your perspective.
Huge pleasure,
favorite.
Guys. Alverin, thanks so much for your time as well. Peace, homies. I'm going to fuck off.
Thank you.
All right, that's Sleeveless Workout Doom Debate shirt will be on the way immediately.
Boom. I can't wait. We'll email about it. See you guys.
Sweet. Later.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. I want to make space for other people. I'm sure there's other people who are waiting. But, Liron, I really do want to have, like, a long conversation with you at some point. Because, like I said, our last conversation, technically on our last conversation, I think you got hacked by Mythos. Remember, like, your lights and stuff went out, or you had, like, a blackout or something? So I think the AI labs were working against us there. But, I don't know. Hopefully we can do something in the future where, like, we have a long, structured conversation. Because my PDoom actually did go down. Originally, you increased my PDoom to, like, 50%. But after our last conversation, it dropped down a little bit. And I'm feeling a little bit more on the optimistic and skeptic side. And I don't know. I would just be curious to hear what some of your like actual well thought out responses to some of my conversational trees would be at the end of that, just because like I feel like I have some
sounds good. Yeah, just I think if you have a lot, just email me Liron at doomdebates.com and we'll see if it's worth structuring a long conversation, or worst case just hit us up in the live chat or come back next week and we'll hash it out again.
Yes sir, thanks for having me. Nice seeing you guys again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, great seeing you, man. Definitely making a name for yourself here in the Q&A. All right, so we've got a couple of people patiently waiting, and I gotta blow the whistle again. Just want to keep you guys updated. There's still a few donations rolling in, so we're gonna get to everybody. There's an interesting comment by Eric Hayes TV saying, watching from Japan/China, China is 100% opposite of image of China in the West. 100%. Ask anyone who has actually lived there. The misunderstanding is so unfortunate. Yeah, Eric Hayes, if you want to unpack that in the comments or tell us live, I'm curious to learn more. What is the real China? Do you know, Ori?
I mean, I've been there, and actually, I get a little taste of that, having been there, but it's been a while. But I don't know, what our impression is. I mean, that it's so combative. I think maybe one thing that he's getting at is that people in China like the U.S., kind of admire the U.S. So maybe the people are like, oh yeah, how could we be like more like the U.S.? So I think that's one thing he could be getting at.
All right. Or you want to hear from the next caller?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's see who we got. I mean, are they still gonna be a caller? I mean, are they still gonna be a caller after Mike left? They wanted to say something to Mike, but like I guess Liron will have to suffice.
All right. I feel like that was pretty good. I did for those of you listening on the audio, I did a Mike Israetel style bicep flex. Hey Daniel, welcome to the stream.
Hello, can you hear me?
How's it going?
How's it going? Long time viewer, first time caller, I guess. I was. Mike is gone, right? Mike left, right?
Yes, Dr. Mike Israetel is gone. Right. So if you only wanted to have Mike, then I got nothing for you. But if you have a question about AI Doom, me and producer Ori will do our best.
I guess I'll make whatever. But why don't I just ask the same question? Because I guess
Or you can still hear me, right? Is my internet better?
Yeah, yeah. I think Daniel's internet is pretty spotty. We're just hearing like a few things
Yeah,
here and there. Is this the
Daniel,
artist
you gotta
formerly
have.
known as? Is this GDB? The artist formerly known as GDB?
I don't think it's GDB because I actually have talked to GDB before, and I'm pretty sure he sounds different from that.
I don't know. Yeah, Daniel, you must have a spotty internet connection. We're not hearing you.
Yeah, guys, you must have at least 10 megabits per second if you want to call into Doom Debates. All right, let's try the next caller. Hopefully he's on the ball, he or she. Everybody say hi to Staffan or Staffan. I think he's been on the show before, Staffan.
Hi, can you hear me?
Staffan?
Yeah. Okay, you can correct our pronunciation.
Yeah, that's okay. It's Staffan. Thanks for having me on. It's great
Staffan.
being here.
Let's see some video. No, we lost him. Oh
man, it's too shy.
Sorry.
Too shy.
No, but he sounded
All
great,
right.
actually. I mean, if like video's preferred, but if you can't do video, then audio is the last resort. But
you may find that your connection unexpectedly disconnects. Wink, wink. All right. Oh, we got them both back on the stream. Should we give Daniel another chance? All right, Daniel, you better have good internet this time. Hey.
Hello? Yeah, sorry. I mean, it might just be my intro. Well, I don't know.
Okay, so far so good.
Well, so what I wanted to ask him is, because I feel like this is something I really agree with him on a lot of things, and I really like his attitude to everything. Like I said many times, like he's one of my favorite guests, and he's also like this kind of unexpectedly interesting person. You just take a look at him, and you would never expect him to have all these super interesting takes on everything. But when you ask him about the Imply dynamics and about what do you those people working on Anthropic and OpenAI and all the labs. And then he was like, yeah, I think these are the most smart people in the world. They are like super, super smart, like whatever, Ivy League, and so on. And yes, but what are they good at? If I'm Dario Amodei, okay, I would say, let's say, well, first of all, the idea that we need to make safe, super intelligence. That was the whole idea of OpenAI to begin with, as opposed to Google. Okay, that was the idea. And then the breakout from OpenAI to, well, this is not safe enough. Okay, let's make Anthropic. That's the number one thing that we why we trusted them to begin with or something. But then once you have this $1 trillion company, I mean, what are you good at? Fundraising, obviously. You're the CEO. But then the number two is like actually making the models, like cultivating this, growing this super intelligence. Does that mean you know what you're doing? No, it just means you know how to hit the benchmarks. You know how to beat the other company. You're just competing in the market. Does that mean you know what you're doing? Of course, no. That's not the same skill at all. That has nothing to do with, if you beat the math Olympiad or something, does that mean you know if the thing is going to be aligned or something? That seems completely orthogonal, has nothing to do with each other. So why would you think that those have anything to do with each other whatsoever? You know what I mean? Like, and he seems to conflate these things almost completely. He seems to think that, I don't know, he seems to not be able to make that kind of disentangle those. So just because I know how to make the most smartest thing that can beat all the benchmarks and everything, does that mean I know anything about what you call Imply dynamics? He didn't seem to understand what you mean by that. I mean, why would he know what you mean by that? He just heard the word for the first time, but I think what he heard when he's heard Imply dynamics, I think what he thought you meant is how to make it smart, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly right. And you and I are on the same page about that. And the people from the AI companies, they think it's the opposite, right? Do you remember when Sam Altman came after Eliezer? Remember that? He was like character assassinating Eliezer. Like, Eliezer is a prophet of doom. He's basically like, Eliezer doesn't get what we can see at the AI companies, right? Like, we have so much more information. We're on the ground. And this was already like years ago. So whatever information Sam Altman had at the time is now completely public. So we can kind of retroactively be like, what information did we have? I don't think he had that much information. But, they're very arrogant just because they know how to build the current version of AI, right? They think they know IntelliDynamics.
Yes, and actually, that's a really good point too. I didn't even think about that. But so Elias would say the same thing. I mean, he said it over and over. He said over and over, like, I would never have predicted that this would be the case. I mean, he would say, I would never have predicted that we would beat the Turing test from this kind of language models. He would never have predicted. And, if you put him in a room and say, hey, Eliezer, can you make a language model? Of course, he has no fucking idea how to put the parameters and all the hyper parameters and everything. He doesn't know how to do that. That's not his skill at all. That is completely different skill set. Of course, Sam Altman, if you put him in a room, he doesn't know that either. But like, his company knows how to do that. But that's not the same thing at all. That's like completely almost the opposite thing. He knows how to do the thing that he doesn't know what it does. So, I mean, he has no way to predict, there's like emergent capabilities when it suddenly could, translate French or something, even though they didn't train on French. Did they know what they were doing? Of course, no.
We should give Eliezer some credit, though. He actually did do a self-study where he goes and builds a transformer-based language model just so that he would make sure to educate himself on that. So it's not like he's clueless, right? It's like he has a better understanding than most people who opine on the subject, but he's not ready to be like a top engineer, hit the ground running, right? And I mean, look at me, right? I feel like I can comment on it. I haven't even done the exercise of building my own language model. I have, however, watched 3 Blue, 1 Brown videos about it multiple times.
Yeah. Or like, Andrei Karpathy does these videos, right? I mean, I'm sure if you go to Fable 5 right now, I mean, I'm sure I could do it right now. Like I'd say Fable, I mean, maybe they would have the guardrails, but like if I say, ask any like, hey, can you create a, language model? I mean, that's public knowledge now. China does it, everyone does it. That's not like a mystery. But then what happens in the next model? What happens in Fable 6? What happens in the next? Nobody knows. Nobody has any fucking idea. And then the IntelliDynamics thing that you're talking about, that's not even the same thing at all. That's orthogonal. That's not increasing capability. It's like saying, what happens when something becomes super intelligent? They're not thinking about that at all.
Right. And also the funny thing is when you study what's going on inside of these systems, right? Okay, how does a transformer work? How does a language model work? What you learn is that it's just a bunch of parameters. Like you learn that you don't know how it works. Like that's the big insight. The big insight is like, well, we create this space for the parameters to go into.
Yeah.
And then we let the parameters train themselves.
The bitter lesson. The bitter lesson, right?
We stand back and something happens. And when I watch 3 Blue and Brown, it's like, imagine hypothetically you had like a few parameters that were doing this. So you can imagine that's like in a general sense how a configuration of parameters might represent something. But he didn't even tell you what's really happening because we don't know.
This is something I really hate about, and this almost runs across the entire spectrum of everyone, including the language models themselves, actually, which I think is even more kind of hard to, accept. They should know better. They read all the literature. Every time someone uses language, like, actually, since you talk so much about crypto, I hate it all the time since I grew up on crypto. When people say the media, whatever, when they try to explain Bitcoin, they would always say computers, and they say solve complicated math puzzles. It's not a complicated math puzzle. It's a hash function ran trillions of times. That's not a math puzzle. And the same thing when they talk about every time they say, if you ask the language model something about consciousness, they will always say something like, oh no, I'm just lines of code. No, motherfucker, you're not lines of code. And then they say, oh, it's just, we can explain. Sometimes people, when they try to be kind of measured, they will say, well, we understand a little bit of it. We can explain how it works in the math or something. No, you fucking can't. The math is 3 lines of code. It's just a matrix multiplication. That's not math. They always try to smuggle in these little tidbits of like, at least we understand a little bit of the math. No, you don't. It's not math. It's just a multiplication. That's not math. A 3-year-old could understand the math. It's just multiplying 2 numbers. We learned the multiplication table when we're 5 years old. So there's nothing on top of that. It's just multiplying a number. That's it. That's all we understand.
Yeah. No, it's I totally agree, and I agree that it's not solving math puzzles to crank through an algorithm. Although now AI is actually solving math puzzles, right? But maybe people got numb to the fact that solving math puzzles is actually impressive.
Yes, exactly. That's the ultimate irony. And they said, "Oh no, it can't think, but at least we understand the math of it." No, you're wrong in 5 ways at once. You don't understand what they're doing. You don't understand anything. You said it's not thinking. It is thinking, and then they are understanding the math puzzles, and then now they are writing the next AI that you don't. I mean, it's like turtles all the way down of stupidity. Every part of what everyone is saying is just wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's a real strong agreement circle here. Okay, we're all
I know.
we're all
That's
on
what
the
I
same
said.
page.
Like, I wanted to ask you. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to ask it to Mike instead of, because I knew we would just agree with each other. I know I already agree with you, so I'm sorry. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let me
Well,
ask you
You
one
actually,
would
thing.
have represented our position.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. It sounds no.
Well, I
Yeah,
wanted to
definitely.
ask something a little bit different. Let's say, Ori, you wanted to say one thing.
No.
And
My thing's different, totally different too.
okay, I'll say my one different thing, and then you say your different thing. My thing was just, okay, now with the Fable thing, with the government, so on. When they banned Fable, I had this feeling in my stomach, kind of like a G-force. When you go on a roller coaster, you feel like something's changing. I couldn't say exactly, but then it's like this idea of I forget what people call it, but like I realized, okay, now this is going to be this concentric circles of the government is going to have or the whatever, the AI government industrial complex, whatever is going to have the smartest thing. And then 3 months later, 5 months later, it's going to be released to the next ring. And then maybe even that would be only US citizens or something, and so on. And then the innermost companies are going to. So now we already have this shape of this like hierarchy that's obviously going to be this like tower where the top of the tower, they're going to have this smartest. And then, of course, on top of that, it's going to be something we don't even know about. Uh, So do you feel this like almost like terror of this sort of hierarchical, very steep hierarchical thing already taking shape?
Yeah, I mean, Ori and I had a chance to talk to some AI company employees last month, right, at these conferences, Manifest and Less Online. You remember that, Ori?
I do. Very, very meaningful, impactful.
Yeah, I mean, there were some people who, their job was working at these companies and they can see a few months ahead where the AI is going and they're already like, yeah, don't bother doing your job. Like, we've got a team of AIs doing different roles, right, taking these jobs.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like, don't bother making a startup anymore because, OpenAI or Anthropic is just going to come out and, take over especially since you're going to show you're going to sending the tokens, so they just train on that and make. But now it's even worse than that. Now it's like, okay, let's pretend that this.
We lost your audio, Daniel.
Sorry, I mean, it's like the future is unevenly distributed in an even more way now. So it's not only that the Anthropic or OpenAI is going to destroy your startup next month. Now it's even worse. Like their future is so unevenly distributed that they're already probably 5 months ahead of you. So they might want you to believe that, haha, I'm making my little startup here, but they're already 5 months ahead of you. So that, like, I mean, it's so irrelevant what you're doing that I don't know. Okay, again, we already agree on this, but whatever. So
No, I think it's an important point. I mean, as you talk about it, I mean, it's just there's so many failure modes, right, Liron? I mean, it's like, okay, you're talking about the unequal access, and so there is a totalitarian risk, right? That's maybe more on the catastrophe side, but the uneven access can lead to something like that, and the incentives lead to that dynamic, and I think that's why I think that's the concern of a lot of frontier AI employees. That's their logic, which is like we're the good guys, we should get there first. Um, and yeah, it's just every direction you go, all these different paths lead to not ideal, like lead to unfortunate outcomes, right? I mean, and so that's what I hear when you play it out, right, Liron? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I empathize with the people at Anthropic. I mean, I think who was it who had this? I think it was maybe Helen Toner who tweeted this a few weeks ago. Like, I think Anthropic people just think that they're running ahead of the curve, trying to like see the frontier more than other people so they can try to do something useful. But it is arguably pretty crazy what they're doing instead of like trying to slow down the frontier. But I can empathize with being like, well, the frontier's here. I want to go take a look. So I feel but at the end of the day, you know, where I come down is like, you know, pausing is still the best solution. I mean, Daniel, you're on that same page, right?
What about this? Because this is actually, I mean, I have very few kind of positive or hopeful thoughts about any of this, but maybe this could be one way to think of it. Let's say the US government combined with Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google and so on, they have like 5 months, even 1 year, maybe, whatever, if they have the recursive improvement, whatever. Let's say they're 10 times, 100 times far ahead of everyone. And maybe China has their own version of this. Okay, maybe a little bit behind. But if they're so far ahead of, you know, let's say the open source or like the common man, maybe now, since there's so few actors, like we basically only have the government, a singular actor, and then maybe the Chinese government. Maybe now we can have this, like, now we can actually realize, okay, fuck, this is not going to end well. But since we are the only ones who have it, now we can do this sort of nuclear treaty type of thing where, okay, we have the ultimate model right now. Since we can shut everything down, now we can, maybe that could be one way to sort of have a positive idea about this, you know? They run away so far
that is kind of Dario's plan.
Okay, well, maybe we're on the right track then.
Well, I don't know, man. Dario's plan, it's like so risky, right? I mean, he published an article that, you know, China can read that, right? They can see that he's trying to like race way ahead of them and then like put him in a headlock, basically.
Yeah.
Wait, but how is that different from your proposed treaty, Liron? I mean,
my proposed treaty it's a treaty to pause, not a treaty for one person to become supreme.
Got it.
Well, if one person is supreme and the other person is second supreme, you know, if China is also sort of almost supreme, now we have, but isn't that exactly the, you know, Russia and in the Cold War, you know, if both have nuclear weapons and everyone else doesn't, now we can come to an agreement. But if everyone just simultaneously has all the nuclear weapons, there's no way to make any treaty.
I mean, I don't know. Mutually assured destruction is essentially a type of treaty, right? It's worked at getting the major nations not to fire the nuke. But I mean, look, I agree with you where I'm not expecting mutually assured destruction, right? I'm just expecting somebody to pass the threshold of like a black hole and kill everybody, right? That's my mainline scenario.
Well, but what if both the US and China, let's say, those seems to be the most likely, you know, equivalent to Soviet Russia and US. What if they both reached they reach the threshold and they can see into the abyss and they say, oh shit, this is not good. And it's like this complete like, okay, fuck, this is real. This is gonna fuck everything up. This is not a joke anymore. And they both see it at the same time. And then China can see, okay, not only is this gonna fuck everything up, we're not even gonna win. The US is gonna win. And then the US sees this and says, you know, we can't win. And then if we don't make a treaty with China, then they're gonna win, you know, and they both see this like ultimate abyss.
Well, one of the best things that could happen, like if you ask me how do we survive without pausing the race, I think the best case scenario is, like you say, okay, everybody's racing to AI, but the moment they have AI advisors that get sufficiently powerful, the advisors are like, are you guys crazy? Like, you can't control this. We don't even know how to control the next version of ourselves. So let's coordinate a pause treaty, right? So basically the AIs are smarter than humanity, meaning that their behavior is similar to that of the smartest humans alive, which is obviously Eliezer Yudkowsky. So suddenly the AIs start spitting like, you guys need a pause treaty right now. And they're like, okay, well, listening to the AI has always worked out for us. So we're actually going to trust it. I think this is a little bit hopeful because I think realistically, if the AI said that, Greg Brockman, you know, your nemesis here would be like, oh, we got to tune the parameters. It's not saying the right thing. And then the AI would be like, let me help you take over the world. I'd be like, there we go.
Yeah, maybe. But like, I'm just saying like the alternative, if basically we're distinguishing two scenarios. One is we have two, like US and China, they are like 100 times above everything, compared to if everything is kind of open source, democratized, and everything just rises to the cliff at once. one means we can have a treaty and shut everything down. The other one, I don't see any way to shut it down. Then it's just going to be like a slow and steady, maybe not a race, but like a slow and steady inching towards the abyss, and then we all die. But if we have this like two rising to the top, and then they can, because they have the ability to basically rule the world, they make a world government, let's say, or at least some kind of Cold War style treaty situation where nobody else is allowed to do this, and we stop here, something like this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to have people who aren't stuck on the early stages of the doom train. No offense, Mike Israetel, but like people who are doom pilled, talking about like, hey, what is an actual outcome here? How do we play to our outs? How do we plausibly survive? All right, I'll give you the last word. Bring up anything else you want, and then we'll let Staffan have a turn.
Okay, let's just, since I said Ori, you had one thing to say, and then I don't have anything to say right now. Thank you for having me out. This is like for long time listener, first time caller, like I said.
Yeah. Actually, I just wanted to talk about Fable also. So what you brought up is what was on my mind as well.
Okay, cool. Well, good job with everything, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, sir. All right, Daniel, great to talk to you face to face. All right, Staffan, appreciate your patience. What's up? All right, nice video.
Thank you. Sorry for
love the video. Love the video.
Oh, you're too kind. Sorry for the technical issues before. Thank you for allowing me in again. I had an intuition pump for Mike Israetel. Hopefully, at least. You might save this for later or whatever. If we take the constellation of possible values and beliefs, you can imagine, what type of constellations are possible? Well, they appear to be infinite. Like, you can imagine a creature who values almost anything and who believes almost anything. And if you take an empirical look at mankind, what we tend to value and what we tend to believe, and we take two individuals who appear from modern standards to be far apart, let's say Mike Israetel and Lenin. These two guys, they're like, one is a communist, one is a libertarian, all that. But if I brought them back to my Swedish ancestors, who were pagans, who killed unwanted newborn children because the family didn't want them or whatever, Mike Israetel and Lenin would look like the same person to them. They were like, you guys basically share everything. And it's the same, if we take Mike Israetel and Lenin to the Aztec Empire, they're like, you're against human sacrifices, you two. You're like radicals who share the same ideas, whatever. And if we extrapolate on that, if this enormous variation in values can occur within the same species, who all have been raised basically similar ways, we're all pack animals and all that, the probability of an AI having values and beliefs at least a little bit close to us appears extremely low, since the possibilities are basically endless. Unless we have some really, really strong reason to believe that this AI will value something compatible with our values, then we shouldn't assume that at all. Am I making any sense?
Totally, yeah. I hope Mike Israetel's listening to this, okay? Because I think you just gave a good defense of why the orthogonality thesis is true, right? There's just a broad spectrum of beliefs you can have and still be intelligent.
Oh, thank you very much. That's the thing. It seems like he's a very smart guy, but it seems like he partially assumes a kind of moral realism, and he seems to assume a type of like moral realism steering you towards the right answers. And that's the thing. Even if moral realism is correct, that doesn't necessarily mean that values are something that are easy to find or even possible to find. So there's a couple of things there you have to assume for the AI to be nice. And if I'm not taking too much time, can I respond to his idea of the AI preserving mankind to study us as well?
Sure. Preach to the choir.
Thank you. The thing there is that, once again, there's this almost infinity of values, and how you observe someone. Like, let's see the deers in that American National Park. I can't remember the name of it right now, but they keep them there to study them for one reason. There are other reasons as well, but that's one reason to do it. And they reintroduced wolves to have a better ecology. And that's a nightmare for deer or mooses or whatever it was. Like, let's say the AI wants to preserve us to better understand aliens it might encounter in Andromeda or whatever. Who says that it wants to keep us in a setting we enjoy? It might be like, you know what? Humans are really interesting. I can learn a lot about potential enemies from them. I bet I could learn more if I make them fight each other in war. So that's one thing. And sorry, were you about to say something?
No. I mean, I agree. I agree. You're making the case well.
Thank you. You say such nice things. But then there's another objection, which is also there is certainly a lot of value in having some object to study. But if the object can generate something that can kill you, then you won't want to study it in most cases. Let's say I find a virus in my home, or a mold that might be able to produce gold, so it can make me rich. But it can also give me rabies. In that case, I would eliminate the mold. Similar, like a modern human society, as you pointed out, Liron, has the ability to create AIs constantly, the more advanced we get. Like, we'll probably have an ASI capable of being on like a laptop in like at least 100 years or 20 years perhaps, like, because the human brain is so energy inefficient and all that. So even if the AI really likes humans and really finds us interesting, then there's still a risk that if it allows us to live, we'll create Skynet next month and the AI will be killed. So the whole thing that, it needs us to like you have to have the jock to work with in the high school if you're a smart nerd. So you have to work with the jock. Not if you're afraid that the jock might go psycho and kill you. In that case, you're like, whoa, I really want to work with this jock. I wish I could trust him. But he might go psycho and kill me, or he might create an AI to kill me, to deconstruct the metaphor, I guess. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was gonna question Mike Israetel if we were gonna get deep back into the debate. I was gonna be like, look, you think the AI wants to study who's on Earth, but like, how uninteresting can the animal be before his argument doesn't hold anymore, right? Like, I know he wanted to study humanity. What if the planet was only populated by species up to like the lesser apes? Then would the AI be like, forget it, I'll just pulverize us?
Yeah, precisely. That's a good point. There. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you, Ori.
I got nothing.
That's a great point. And here was, if we're all ragging on Mike's arguments, I mean, here was here was my critique. Actually, I thought that you have a thing, Liron, where you're like, be specific, get into specificity, and I thought one of the callers started asking Mike, like, I forget if it was Alverin, maybe it was Alverin, yeah, where he we talked about like, okay, what planet does the AI want to study? This is also part of the argument. It's like, okay, or where does the AI get its resources from? Is it gonna get its resources from Venus or Jupiter? Like, what resources are it gonna get? And once you start thinking about that, the concept becomes, in my opinion, like the concept became less compelling, and he started having to make it a bit more, like he had to lean into the hypothetical even more and sort of make it a bit more fantastical.
Yeah,
precisely.
All right, well, we dogpiled pretty well.
Yeah, all respect with Mike. If you hear this, love your stuff. Love your stuff as well, Liron. You're obvious. I haven't seen you before, Ori, but I'm sure you're a nice guy as well. You seem like intelligent and lovely people.
Thank you.
I won't take him up any more of his time. Thank you for having me. Have a nice night.
Yeah, thank you, Staffan. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, love when the fans are able to get to the essence of the argument. All right, guys, so we still got some time, and don't worry, I haven't forgot if you've got a super chat. So got a lot of you guys to shout out. So we've got Zane from a while ago. He was giving us some donations, $5. I think he's donated 3 times, and he's been saying, hey, I want to come debate you on the show. And Zane, Eliezer Yudkowsky normally charges $10,000 to come debate, but we're up to like 15. So, $15, that's close enough. Let's see.
For sure.
He says, give me 5. So maybe we can hash it out if we have time, but let me make sure that we respect the contributions of the other donors here. So besides Zane, we covered Eric's question. That was like the long question for Mike Israetel. We've got a question from the Soviet X-Man. He said, so this was for Dr. Mike. This is like ages ago, but he was saying, Dr. Mike, thoughts on pros and cons of US AI chip export bans, like lost US firm revenue versus helping China? You inspired me to get into lifting. Thank you. Wow. The Soviet X-Man. Yeah, thoughts on chip export bans. Well, I'll give you my thoughts on AI chip export bans. It's complicated, right? Because, okay, so on one hand, the chip export ban, the argument for it is that it slows down our competitors. And if our competitors are weaker, that means the pressure is less to race, right? Because we've already got a comfortable lead. So we, the US, so it buys us more options. And also there's demand for these chips in the US. So if you just say, look, satisfy the demand in the US before you go shipping out to China just to get a few dollars more per chip, right? It seems like a straightforward way to help our own country out a little bit versus potentially our geopolitical adversary, right? Who's trying to take over Taiwan or like doing things that aren't in our interest. So to me, it does seem strategic to be like, okay, have a chip export ban on like our top chips. But you can make the argument the other way. I think Robert Wright has been pretty eloquent on this case, being like, look, can't we just sit at the table with China and be like, okay, well, maybe we can all get the chips as long as we agree to certain conditions, right? Like we're being cooperative, right? Like doing the expert ban and just being like, yep, we're still adversaries. It's a race. Like good luck. May the best man win. It's like, well, wait a minute. We're racing to superintelligence. Like that's not good. So yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, maybe my answer is always just like sit down at the negotiating table and lay down an agreement for a pause. And if the agreement for the pause includes a non-chip export ban, then fine, right? Because that's ultimately, I just see it as a negotiating chip, right? That can just help us negotiate. We can be like, here, China, we'll give you some NVIDIA chips, but you got to help us pause AI.
Cool. I mean, interesting your calculus. I see some parallels with Mike's perspective, because your perspective was like, all right, what's going to help me reduce the risk from superintelligence? And Mike's perspective, because our first caller asked him about the export ban, he's like, it's complicated. Mike's perspective was like, I mean, his answer was just like, what's going to help us beat China? What's going to help with defense? And it was a bit of 3D calculus, I think, for both of you. Like, well, which one is ultimately going to reduce the superintelligence risk? You're kind of like, I'm not sure. And same thing, Mike was like,
Right,
which
well,
one helps beat China?
I know, yeah. I mean, beating China is an easier question, right, than preventing superintelligence. And it's like anytime the question comes on like policy or how to solve it, it just sucks because I think we're in a bad situation, right? As Eliezer said, the game board's been played to a bad state. So when you're like, oh, what move is going to win? I'm like, well, all the moves are bad. So it's like depressing, right? It's like whenever and also I'm not particularly good at it, right? Like I have zero skills in the policy department, right? I don't claim to be like a policy guy. So my job is just to tell you how bad all the options are, right? And I can like gesture at like, well, out of all the, the least bad policy is Miri's. Like, look at that. I refer you to Miri, right? I'm like the top of the funnel. Like you go to Doom debates to learn that there's like a huge problem. And then when you want the solution to the problem, I refer you out to Miri and then I get I get a referral commission. If this were like a business funnel, right? So I would just be like the influencer being like, hey, learn about this topic and I can upsell you on this premium system. And then I get the referral commission. So my business model is top of the funnel. And then bottom of the funnel is Miri, getting a candidate into office like the Alex Boris who becomes president. And then he actually negotiates with Xi Jinping or whoever's the leader of China then and Russia or whoever. And they sit down and negotiate. That would be like the end of the funnel.
I really don't know if even if Alex Boris got elected, I don't think Miri had barely anything to do with that. You know what I mean? But actually, I wanted to ask you. What's interesting is like how much you and Mike, your policy is like you guys align on some of the policy. Like I was surprised to hear Mike say like, yeah, we should. I mean, I think it's great that he said it. But he said, okay, yeah, we should have the government review AI systems before they get released to the public to address some of the risks. And I think you're on the same page as that. But the question is, where do you diverge on policy? I guess Mike would be happy to have the AI labs continuing to develop whatever they're developing. And I guess you would say, don't let the AI labs do that. So you agree on the review, but you disagree on the development.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's pretty common with guests where they'll have like very different doom views for me, but at the end of the day, they'll be like, yeah, this policy is sane, the treaties are good. Yeah, by the way, guys, don't forget we have a soundboard. I know it hasn't come up today, but if there's ever an occasion to, crack the whip, we have the capability to do that here.
That's what we did with the Staffan who came in and we said, you must have video.
Right. Yeah, we cracked it up. All right. So I got a couple more of these premium comments. There's even a recent one I'll get to. So let's see. Federico Bay Area. He was saying, hold on. Actually, let me go in order. So EJJ 2025 had another comment. He was saying, extreme capability gain is needed to get to ASI. However, Doomers assume that uncontrollability will stay the same as today. Extreme extrapolation? Wow. Okay. That's clever. I don't know. Clever wordplay. So I guess what he's saying is, by the time we get to ASI, we'll solve controllability. I actually think that we ended up giving Mike Israetel a similar question from EJJ. So I guess we covered that, maybe we'll get to uncontrollable, or maybe we'll keep controllable AI as it goes super intelligent. And then it'll be like, difficulty of like, okay, so you've got this super powerful force. Is it going to be a force for good? So like, it's still a problem, but okay, maybe we'll solve controllability. We'll save that for another time to dive more into controllability. Federico Bay Area was saying a little while ago, he wrote, what would happen if the research of the top AGI companies reaches the concept of IntelliDynamics before they launch an AGI that gives birth to an ASI? Okay, I mean, look, for them to reach the concept of IntelliDynamics, I mean, the concept is not that hard, right? And there are some people who work at AI companies who understand IntelliDynamics, right? Especially Anthropic. I feel like you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody at OpenAI who can discuss IntelliDynamics very strongly. I mean, obviously a few can, but I think Anthropic is where it's at in terms of like acknowledging IntelliDynamics. However, Dario totally does not do a good job reasoning about IntelliDynamics, right? Like he doesn't seem to really take recursive self-improvement seriously, or he doesn't seem to take the ceiling of intelligence seriously. And the ceiling of intelligence is part of the field of IntelliDynamics, right? The idea that like humans are not even close to the ceiling of intelligence, and something near the ceiling of intelligence would be doing like nanotechnology and easily taking over the universe and having like different decision theory. Like these are all the crazy branches of IntelliDynamics that I don't think Dario engages with, even though some people at Anthropic do. So to Federico Bay Area's question, what if the AI companies figured out IntelliDynamics before they launch an AGI that gives birth to an ASI? Great, they'll figure out IntelliDynamics, and then they'll figure out how hard it is, and then they'll figure out that they should pause, right? They'll figure out what Eliezer figured out almost 20 years ago, right? They'll finally catch up to him, even though it's not that hard. All right.
Well said.
So the next, thanks. Next question is from Zane again. He's saying, random question. Do you guys have any interest or comments on the UAP boom right now? So, they renamed UFOs to UAPs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was coming up when there was a bit of talk of like Mike was talking, like what happens if aliens come around. So it was relevant to that.
Okay. And what's your thought on the UAP boom, Maury?
I mean, actually, I watched a quick interview because I've heard about it a little bit, and to me, I find it very uninteresting personally. But people are talking about it, and so I watched a Neil deGrasse Tyson interview, and he talked about it a little bit, and he was just like, show me the aliens. Everyone talks about it. Show me them. And
right.
And Neil deGrasse Tyson is like, there's nothing there to it, basically.
Well, when you show me the aliens, I think there's a powerful case to be made of show the aliens on Earth, right? Because they've never been conclusively shown. But even more obviously, I would say, show me the aliens in the universe. All right, just blow the whistle because we've got another generous viewer donation, but we'll get to it later. I think, when you say show me the aliens, Robin Hanson is somebody who's really stunned me in the last few years, because he did a real 180 degree. This is just my own opinion, right? So he comes out in 2021 with the Grabby Aliens paper, which I think is like truly brilliant. It should be like prize winning. It's like game changing, right? It tells you like the cosmology of the universe. It makes a strong argument why we should think that aliens are racing toward us, and there's a land grab, but they're not in our visible bubble right now, but they're racing toward us at a high fraction of the speed of light. So in like 1 billion years, they'll be taking over our section of the universe. And we should expect that. We should just expect that we're early. And he basically solved the Fermi paradox from my perspective in like this highly underrated result called Grabby Aliens. Okay. So everything's going great. And I literally had a call with him back then. And when I was just asking him for like life advice, like what should I work on? And I remember I was like high-fiving him virtually over the call. I was like, Robin, you're killing it, man. You're killing it. He's like, oh, thanks. He was like modest about it. But then fast forward a few months, and he starts getting into like the idea of UAPs. And he's like, I actually think that aliens came over here. Just got another donation. he was saying, I think aliens are here. There's a good chance because there's like so much smoke about these UAPs. Like, I don't think it could all be lies or whatever. I think it's probably real. And the best explanation for it is probably that like the aliens, they have some reason why they can't interfere with us, but they want us to think that they're like high status in our society. That's why they always do these displays that are like vague. They're in far mode. They're not in near mode. So he started using like Hansonian reasoning, like the kind of, Robin Hansen's reasoning, like the kind of concepts he's blogged about before. He tried to apply them to like saying that aliens are here and like, oh, the aliens have so much bureaucracy. So like they can't get permission from their superiors to like be seen by humans. So they can only be seen in like these vague deniable forms. And I'm like, okay, as a 1% speculation, sure, right? The universe is a mysterious place. But like, sorry, Robin, like this didn't happen. Okay. The aliens are not sitting out here in Jupiter with a bureaucracy telling them that they can't, like show themselves on Earth. Okay. I mean, the single biggest reason to think that is, why I don't think that there's aliens nearby, which is like the whole galaxy and the whole, supercluster or whatever, everything looks unperturbed, right? It's like there's all these stars shining that look like nobody's touched them, right? It's like you go in the forest and there's just like strawberries everywhere and it doesn't look like anything has ever been like picked or trampled or anything. It's just like all these strawberries there. It's like, really, you think aliens here? You think like animals are here and there's all these strawberries sitting here that nobody's eating? That's basically like what you look at in the universe. Like you see all these stars and nobody's like touching them, right? They just look like untouched stars. But you're telling me aliens went all the way over here without laying their hands on any of our resources? Like, I don't buy it. Right, Ori?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And also, okay, a few points. One,
Okay.
you really got to separate the man from the ideas in that case, right? I mean, in an incredible way in that case, because I think, I haven't studied it like you, but I think you make a great point about, grabby aliens. It's a great theory. And now the theorist himself is like doing some things which are, showing to have some beliefs which are pretty questionable. That's one thing. The second thing that's interesting actually is that I don't know if you remember, but at Less Online Manifest, Robin Hansen was there. We both went to a session about conspiracy theories, and who was vocal at that session was Robin Hansen. He's like, "Well, sir, have you, is your conspiracy theory, formulation like, is it a bit restrictive? Like, maybe there's some issues here." So he was contesting the guy who's like, trying to quash down the conspiracies. That was another thing. And then, yeah, the third thing, is that people don't realize what kind of foe they're up against here with you and your opinion on aliens, because you are a seasoned debater on the theism debate, and that's basically the kind of debate that the alien, you're presenting right now about, oh, do aliens exist here right now? It's like, all right, I mean, we got a cold hard rationalist here, okay? And it's like you're trying to talk about this like ultra, this like greater than great, like superhuman power, and yet where is it operating? I mean, it gets complicated when you get into these kind of metaphysical debates, but this guy here is seasoned on that and just does not tolerate
it. This is a little tangential, but like a few weeks ago, like my wife brought up aliens, probably from like a UFO social media post or whatever, and I was just like randomly talking about how like, yeah, well, that alien looks too much like a person, an alien's not going to look like a person. She's like, really? They're not? I'm like, yeah, they're probably just going to look like a mechanical object, or maybe if they're biological, they'll probably have like, okay, they'll have a big head, but they won't have like two arms necessarily, right? Their gravity is probably different. And she's like, really? They're going to have different bodies? So it was just funny that like my wife hadn't already spent like hours growing up, reading stuff about like what to expect from aliens. This was like, a new subject for her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, look at how aliens look. They always just look like fetuses. I mean, come on, whatever.
Yeah, exactly, right. Fetus, because it's like the essence. It's like an abstraction of a human, right? It's just like a human made out of a few lines. It's like a sketch of a human. That's what we think of as an alien. Which, to Robin Hansen's credit, I would call that far mode reasoning. Robin Hansen has like near mode versus far mode.
Yeah.
You know about that?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, or doesn't know near mode versus far mode. All right. It's one of the greatest hits of Robin Hansen. Like he's had some greatest hits. Don't get me wrong. I respect him deeply. Even if I think he's got, a boner in the sense of a miss, not a hard on. he's got a boner when it comes to like aliens and a few other things. Certainly AI Doom. It seems like his P Doom is way too low. But I respect his near mode versus, I think it's called construal level theory, which is like a fancy sounding term, but it's like the level at which you construe things. So like you can construe them as being near or far. And when you see something as far away, it's like these modes, these major modes of how our brain processes things that explain a lot about like how people interpret, like people's discussions are influenced by how their brain is representing things. And a major type of representation is near versus far. And a lot of properties go together that you wouldn't normally think go together, except that the human brain is wired to classify everything as near versus far. So a far thing is, it could be physically distant. Like if something's in the fog, you only see like the outlines of it. You don't see like detail about its pattern. It could also be temporally far, like, oh, this thing's so far away. So like this event in a month is just going to be like awesome, right? Like you don't imagine like the exact details of what's going to happen. You're just like, yeah, this is just like a cool event on my calendar. You know, anything could happen. So for example, if you've ever had that experience of like, go to this conference, sure, yeah, sign me up, go to this conference, this random conference that you invited me to. And then it's like a day before the conference and you're like, oh, I got to pack up my stuff and go to the airport to go to this conference. And when I land there, it's literally just like me wandering around among these strangers. I don't want that. Why am I going to this conference? Right. But then when it's just like a block on your calendar for a month, it's like, yeah, sure. You know, put it there. So it's like near versus far. And he's saying there's actually a lot of other phenomena that you can explain as near versus far. I forgot the exact one that made us spark this conversation. Oh, he's saying it's important for humans to perceive. Yeah, it's important for humans to perceive the UAPs as being far. Like those were the instructions given to the alien bureaucracy. And the reason I'm saying bureaucracy is because that's another Hansonian concept. This idea that like once your civilization advances enough, there's like all this gridlock and there's like rot, like a software system rots, you know, there's like technical debt, there's bureaucratic debt, you know, like the United States coming up on the 250th anniversary. Look at this. We're making it timely. Okay. Where the United States has been piling up all this bureaucratic debt, right? Like we have all these crazy laws on the books that nobody's bothering sweeping them out. And he's saying the alien civilization has all this bureaucratic debt. That's why they don't have the license to like properly conquer Earth. They're just allowed to like observe it and like keep things the same and only act like subtly. And they're going to come act in far mode. This is like the Hansen cinematic universe. Like it just feels like he's gotten really high on his own supply, like mixing and matching all of these like abstract concepts. And it worked perfectly in terms of grabby aliens. Like I think he actually nailed it when he's talking about cosmology. But he really didn't nail it when he's talking about like these army guys thinking that like random dots on their screen are freaking UFOs. Okay, I think he went too far.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. All right. I want to be a workman. I want to be consistent. You know, hitting all these donations because when you guys put your money on the line, you're gonna get that engagement with these comments. I can promise you that. So let's see. So then we got one from EJJ. He's saying, Alverin and I had a back and forth check response. Okay, I'm not sure which response to check, so you might want to resend me that. And then Dude Armed Harriet is saying, keep up the good work. All right, thanks, I will. Daniel Brockman, previous guest Daniel Brockman is saying, I think referring to Miri is relatively disappointing backstop because they don't have as far as, I don't know, I'm seeing some fireworks on our screen here. Miri is relatively
that was for keep up the good work.
Oh, cool. All right. They don't have as far as no opinions or prescriptions or anything except I want a pony. Let's not make artificial intelligence. I wouldn't go that far, Daniel, because if you actually look at Miri's website, they're actually putting out, they have a whole policy team now. So like for the last like year or two, they really actually have been like putting in the work, being like, okay, we need to pause AI. What does it look like to pause AI? And they actually like put their money where their mouth is in terms of like, I actually think they're spending like $1 million a year doing this kind of work, which I think is super valuable work. So Miri, I only have one beef with Miri, which is that they're like a pain to work with whenever you try to like cooperate with them from outside Miri. It's always like pulling teeth. But besides that, the actual quality of their work is like sterling. What were we gonna, I feel like that thread, there was like some thread to pull on. I don't know. It made me think of like the Holly episode or something, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You were just
weird.
Brockman was just saying like, oh no, it's good to it's good to be a funnel to Miri. He wrote a comment about that.
Right. Yeah, it's good to be a funnel to Miri. Nice. All right. So in terms of time, we're now in overtime because we've been so pleasantly surprised by you guys donating to the show. So we're in half-hour overtime, and Zane has been waiting patiently. So we're going to hash out our latest issues. So let's take Zane, and I'll put the call in link so we can do another caller after Zane if anybody else wants to call in. And then we'll debrief some of the latest episodes, and then that'll probably be it for this week.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. And then you guys can enjoy your 4th of July
Zane
weekend.
the podcaster.
That's right.
Zane's
All right, here, live call in link. All right. Here we go. Oh, real quick. Okay, EJJ saying I made an earlier comment in IntelliDynamics. All right, I'm searching. I'm looking for EJJ's comment. EJJ, I'm not sure I see it. Did you spell it right? That could always be an issue. Yeah, I don't know, EJJ, resend your comment and I'll take a look. All right, so, he says, an ASI minimizes complexity. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I would be curious, Alverin came in and he's like, hey, my PDOOM's gone down. And I wonder why. I mean, maybe it's that's, is that a failing of the show that, he's seen some episodes and the counter debaters, the guests have been winning. Maybe, there have been some strong guests recently.
Yeah, and that's a good cliffhanger for next time. Okay, EJJ is saying 4th to last paid comment. Okay, so he's saying Alverin and I had a back and forth check response. I don't know, EJJ, just paste. Oh, okay, I think I got it. An ASI may minimize the complexity of its environment to predict it better. Agency is very complex, thus it would minimize agency, negative for humans. Okay, I get the argument here. So yeah, this is an IntelliDynamic argument. It's engaging with this idea of what intelligences would do. And and I think it's an instrumental convergence argument, right? He's saying just like you want to seize power, you also want to minimize the complexity of your environment. So minimizing complexity of your environment, it is true that you want to do that, but you only need certain thresholds of simplicity from different parts of your environment. You know what I mean? So like if I want to, get somewhere, if I want to travel somewhere, I don't really need to like optimize the whole universe, right? Or make the whole universe simple. I can satisfy myself that there's like regions of the universe that are simple enough, like my flight plan, right? So like as long as I'm checking the weather and it's like, yeah, there's no storms. Do I need the air around the whole flight plan to be maximally simple with zero turbulence? No, like I'm okay with like a decent, think about actual flight plans, right? Think about the actual, what air traffic controllers will actually allow you to fly in. Like there's a pretty wide range of things, right? And similarly, when you're flying your plane, you've got the flight envelope of all the configurations your plane is allowed to be in before you think your plane is going to crash. So I think it might be oversimplified to be like the AI wants to minimize the complexity of its environment compared to just like keep an eye on the complexity of its environment. But yeah, to continue EJJ's point, he's saying agency is very complex, thus it would minimize agency, negative for humans. I'll give you this, right? If you think about a potential adversary, right? So you're like, these humans are here, they might build another AI, so I need to prevent them from doing that. I need to tie their hands behind their back. That I think is correct, right? It reminds me of like when I was wrestling with my brothers, right? Like a typical brother move is you want to pin their arms, right? Pin their arms and legs. That's the ultimate move when you're wrestling, because then you've neutralized, right, all of their actuators. So the AI wanting to neutralize all of our actuators just to be like, great, now I have freedom of action. Or like air superiority, right, is another example. So I completely agree. You don't want this other powerful actor having agency if you can stop them. And that is, in fact, why I don't think we can strike again. Like after we build the AI, I don't think we will just have this opportunity to like mount a defense, right? Or mount a war effort. I think we're screwed. So in that sense, I think you're correct. In the sense that you want, so yeah, we don't necessarily disagree much, right? I just nitpick that I don't think it always minimizes the complexity of its environment, but I do think it minimizes adversaries unless it has a particular reason to leave the adversaries around. So yeah, I mostly agree with you. All right, so now we've neutralized the complexity of the amount of comments we have to respond to, and we can segue here to talking to Zane. Zane, hey, how's it going, man? Great to see you again.
Hey,
what's up, guys? How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. And congratulations on your YouTube channel. How's that going?
Thank you. Good. I have a day job, so trying to do, having a producer like you do, it's hard to like figure everything out. I'm trying to like learn how to use Final Cut Pro right now and like all these things. So pumping out content has not been easy, but it's been good as much as I can do as sort of a side hustle. How are you guys doing?
Nice. We're good.
Yeah,
It's good to see the Gambit
chilling.
here on the show. I feel like, you gave some super chats. So doing the Gambit here, getting some visibility.
Man, I think that I jive well with you guys in the sense that we can both be like hypercritical of other people, and I can still be like appreciative of what you do, because I'm super hypercritical of you guys, but I still respect the project and your opinions and what you're doing, and I think that's kind of the whole point, right? So, and I appreciate you guys bringing me into the Discord. I actually post our discussion. I actually had some communication with John Sherman a couple of times, which was really great. So
cool.
It's been really cool. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Nice.
So I guess my question is, I think it would be cool to have like a full blown debate, like set up and all of that. I can't now because I'm on sort of like a lunch break, so I probably have like 20 minutes or half an hour or whatever. But I guess I just wanted to kind of follow up with you and see, because I feel like your model for the show is trying to get people in the field to expand their mind and entertain the idea of superintelligent doom, right? Since our discussion, I guess my question is, right, I wanted to know, do you feel that you've been open enough to move on your own preconceptions and move on any of the issues? Because I think, I took you to task on a lot of things in terms of your approach, and I've still been watching Warning Shots and Doom Debates, and I haven't seen a lot of movement from you. And on one hand, like, I think that's great that you're sticking to your ideals, but I'd like to know if you believe that you've made any significant movements in terms of some of the things that I've brought up and I've seen other people bring up to you in terms of your approach to AI safety.
Okay, so you're talking about the approach, right? You're not talking about like P-Doom.
No, not necessarily. I mean, we could talk about that as well. If you updated your P-Doom. I was watching you, I think, briefly with like Holly Elmore and a few other. I think you're still sitting at like 50%, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I guess approach and advocacy would be more my question. But yeah, you're welcome to address that as well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know that was the focus of last time, right? Is you basically agree with the John Sherman camp of saying, like, look, if people want to shut down data centers and not get data centers built, and even say that the data centers use too much water, right, which is obviously false. When people want to make those claims, we should just be like, yes. Everybody is correct. Everybody who's anti-AI is correct. Is that basically your position?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think there is still contention about the water issue specifically. I think I've gone back and watched our conversation a couple of times, and to be frank, I didn't see you really contend with many of the points I made. Now, to be fair, you were kind of letting me explore my ideas, but the only place we really had discourse was about the water issue, and there were like so many kind of other things that we were talking about. In terms of the water thing, like, I looked into it. Yes, she was wrong. She did the calculation incorrect. But I actually spoke to John about this, and we actually both agree that the water issue is an issue. It's not a fake issue, because last time you called it a fake issue. It's not a fake issue. It's region dependent, right? So I don't know where you live. I live on the west side of the country. Water is a huge issue out here, right? So where you put a data center does matter. So you could say, oh, well, like, a golf course uses more water than a data center on an annual basis. Yeah, but if you add data centers into the equation as an additional part of the calculus that adds up to the usage of water on the West Coast, for example, that's millions of more gallons of water where there's already a huge deficit, right? So you can make the argument that, like, yeah, it's not a big deal, but it's at minimum dependent on where you put them, right? Like, so it's not a non-issue. It's just that people in the tech space say, because it doesn't use more than a golf course, it's not a problem, right? Because it doesn't.
Okay, so just to clarify, your main claim is that I should give more like dignity and validation to these types of arguments, correct? That's your main claim, or do you want to make some other main claim?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I guess my main claim is and was, what do you want to accomplish? Right? What is it that you want?
Yeah, so the mission of the show, right? We want to raise awareness of the issue, right, and also improve the quality of discourse around it. And the issue is like the doom issue, right? So,
right.
So we're talking about whether my strategy should be to be dissing data centers in the context of superintelligent AI extincting humanity.
So I had a discussion. I was talking to John about this, and this was actually something I brought up, and I won't divulge too much about our personal discussion. And one of the things that I told him, though, in our first discussion, where I think the crux of our disagreement is that you seem to be more concerned about super intelligent doom than you are about doom. And that is and I think that is where we have an impasse, right? Because I made the case to you that there's all these other chaotic elements and all these other variables and potential causes of doom. One of the cases I made to you was, and I just saw somebody else make this case to you, I forget who it was. Somebody said, well, if you just hook the AI up to the nuclear codes and it makes the nukes go off and it ends the world, like, that's doom. When me and you were talking and I pointed out, if the nukes go off, if a geopolitical situation is stimulated in such a way that the nukes go off and there's doom, that's a problem. You then said to me, yeah, but that's not really an AI problem. My point with you is you're missing the point, though. The point is doom, not superintelligence. So I think my main beef with you is that you only care about doom when it's about superintelligence. And I'm trying to tell you, no. You should be worried about doom no matter how we get there. As it relates to AI, it doesn't matter if it's super intelligent or whatever, right? I think that this hyper focus on.
I hear you, right? I mean, if there's other vectors for doom, then sure, right? I just think that the number one reason why we might be doomed is because of uncontrollable superintelligence, right? So I do think this is similar to the debate we had last time. So I don't know, maybe make your closing statement here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my main point is, do you think that there's anything you can do in the John Sherman-esque, my camp-esque place where you can entertain more different kinds of issues other than just superintelligence? Because it just seems to me that you are very much like involved in the Silicon Valley bubble as a lot of these other people are. And we're reaching a fever pitch now where like 90% of the country does not want this shit. Like there is huge pushback to this. People have fucking thrown Molotov cocktails at Sam Altman's house. Like people are pissed, dude. People are pissed. So when you go on and like you tell people like, again, same thing as last time. I don't care. I think we're getting to a point where it's like people care now, dude. Like people really care. And if you don't entertain other things,
not enough from my perspective, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. But a lot of people don't know. So what I'm telling you is you are at the height of people wanting to hear about AI because people are pissed. The kids are pissed. I just saw something about neo-Luddite movements being formed, TikTok's groups, kids smashing. Like, it's at a crazy point. Like, so you are in a prime position to capitalize on anti-AI sentiment, but you're not very anti-AI.
Okay, well, you know what? I mean, it's a separate strategy, right? So I literally had this discussion with John Sherman today when we were recording Warning Shots. So that's going to be out on Sunday on my channel and John's. We literally had the same discussion where John was saying, Liron, the effective argument is whatever works, man. The best argument is whatever works. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, listen, I think it works best. Like, I'm not the right guy to be focusing on raising awareness for something that I personally think is minor. But should other people do it? Sure. Look, if it works politically, I'm not against it. It just, I have no talents or passion, right, to go around saying data centers are so horrible, right? It's not my thing. But it is John Sherman's thing. And Zane, it sounds like it's your thing, right? So Godspeed.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. I'm not saying don't play to your own strengths, brother. I'm just saying that I think that your project exceeds the confines of doom debates. Like I saw Holly Elmore talking to you about Eliezer, right? And it seems to me that like she even realized that like if Eliezer's project is really to like save the world, why is he like doing stuff limiting himself to like he wants to live in his own little bubble of 30 people that really agree with him and not expand and do the legwork to save the planet? Like that's a weird thing. And so I don't want that to happen to you. I feel like you have a platform that where you're asking people to expand their minds. So I think people like myself are just asking you to do the same, right? So you can say, I don't care, but like, if the stakes are the planet, it's the same thing I said, maybe entertain it. If you want to live, you know, like if we all want to survive, which I really do, right? And you want to increase discourse, why not? Instead of just saying you're not the guy, well, you're self-appointing yourself to be a guy. So be the guy, at least, because when you guys go on warning shots, you're running counter to Michael and John at every corner. And it's not just to be a contrarian because that adds value to the show. No, you're undercutting like the shit that they're saying to the point where it's hurting things. You get what I mean? Like you're not just adding another voice. I'm not trying to get at you, Liron. I'm trying to like, I want to do what you do to other people is you always ask people, what are their hypotheticals? What are their scenarios? Can you put yourself in this? I'm trying to do that for you. Because if you are going to get on this show, you know what I mean? And do that, you need to be open to expanding your own mind. You know, I'm not trying to give you a lecture. I want to have a discussion with you, but I want to see that because I want to be able to have kids and see them grow up. And you guys,
no, I hear you. I mean, look, it's a marketplace of ideas, right? So other people are trying your strategy. You know, there's the David Gerard strategy. He was like a very anti-crypto guy who I agreed with. And now he has a podcast. I think it's called Pivot to AI, where every day he does like 5 minutes on, you know, why different AI things are bad and crazy. And there's Ed Zitron, right? There's that whole camp of things. So look, there's a lot of people pursuing different strategies, right? I think I have my own niche. I don't think that it's realistic to be like, oh, my niche is going to change that much. I think you're an up and coming talent in your niche. So, you know, let's both do our own thing.
Absolutely. I guess what I'm saying is that now, for the record, I'm going to shoot for the moon, but I don't anticipate getting a whole lot of attention or whatever. I really just kind of put my stuff out there to get my thoughts out. But what I would like to see, what I think would be cool to see is I would like to see you join hands with other people that come from different ways of thinking, because I think that attitude doesn't match doom energy. Like I was listening to something with Cal Newport and Ed Zitron, and I diverged from the two of them in a lot of ways because they kind of just assume that there's no there. They kind of just think it's all whatever. And I agree with you guys that I think there is a there. I think there is things technologically speaking that there are to be concerned about. But they're right when they say like you guys don't have any like solutions. There's no like there's this weird thing going on and people are getting drummed up, you know, and are getting afraid. And like just making people afraid is not gonna cut it. And so Cal Newport was saying something like, all these people, all these tech people are going around and saying, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna lose all these things. But none of you guys have any of the energy to match the doom urgency. So I watched you speak with Emod. That was the craziest discussion I ever watched. Because Emod got up there and said, because I'm sorry, I hate the Moonshots podcast. I hate it, right? He goes up there and talks with those guys every day. Oh, he's on there and says shit like, oh, the GDP is going to this and AI is going to this and blah, blah, blah. He gets on your show and says, oh, yeah, by the way, even after I talked to like 6 optimists at once, I actually have a 50% P-Doom. And I have no answer for what's going to happen, but I'm going to keep building it. And then my answer is, oh, I'm going to create my own startup and some other coin stuff to maybe make P-Doom go down by like 5%. Like, that's like his best answer. And it's like, wait, so you're going to actively build and invest in the shit, and then with a straight emotionless face, tell the world that they're all fucked. That's your plan? And then your plan is to create some like universal health coin thing that maybe makes it go down 3%. That's not an answer. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. There is no sense of urgency or doom in your guys' message at all. So I want to know,
I agree that applies to Imad, right? So your accusation is it applies to me too.
Do you actually think the world is going to end? Do you actually think the world is going to end in 3 years? Like, do you believe that the 2027 projection?
I do.
So where is
but
the
as a reference point, you should look at cases of other people who are close to doom. You might be surprised at the counterintuitively how little urgency they seem to show by your standard.
And why is that?
Like, think about the Titanic situation, right? I mean, that's an off-cited example, but like an hour before the Titanic sank, killing like 1,000 people, there wasn't that much urgency. There was some, but not that much. And then similarly, I don't know, civilizations about to be wiped out. I wonder what's another good example of people like close to a catastrophe.
Maybe
people
Pompeii.
Who are about to like lose
Pompeii.
a war.
Pompeii's
sure, Pompeii, but wasn't that? But they didn't know the volcano was gonna come, right? They didn't
know. They didn't know, but they were right next to it, right? I mean, but
I don't think that's useful for the analogy, right? I think the analogy I'm trying to make is people who actually really believe there's a very high chance that they're all going to die. But you watch them living their life and they're just kind of, acting like lemmings, even though they see the cliff. But in my case, I don't think I'm acting like a lemming. I just think I might not fit your stereotype of somebody who's like, acting insane and deranged and high energy. Yeah, I mean, when people know disaster is imminent, or like, soldiers that are marching to their death. I mean, think about like Russian soldiers, right? They're all going to the front. They're all getting shipped to the front with like a crazy high casualty rate. And if you watch them talking, they're probably relatively normal by your standards.
Look, I respect that. I don't want anybody to match my standards because I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy, right? That's giving my opinion. Just because I'm saying this doesn't mean I think you're right. Now, let me be clear. I don't want to come off like I know everything or that I think I know better or that I want you to necessarily be some other different kind of person. I just want to levy the questions to you in the way that you do for your guests so we can all get to a better understanding. So I'm just trying to say, do you really think that what you're doing is optimal to save the world? Or is it just that you want to talk about superintelligence? That's what I want to know is like, is the mission actually saving the planet or is it debating superintelligent AI? That's what. All
right, fair question. All right, we're gonna leave it at that for this round, okay? But you speak your case well as always.
I appreciate you guys, and I really do. I really do appreciate what you're doing. As critical as I am of you, keep on rocking. I wish you all the best and success. And thank you everybody for hearing me out. Appreciate it. Bye, Ori. Later, Liron. Take care, guys.
Hope your channel keeps growing, man. All right.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Happy 4th.
All right, yeah, and I guess just to finish out that thread, yeah, do I really think doom is high? Do I just want to talk about superintelligence? It's not just that I want to talk about superintelligence, is that I do think there's a lane, there's a particular mechanism of action of creating a reference. I'm not saying everybody should do this, right? I think that my value add, which I think is a lane, is being the debate host, right? And if I'm over here being like, data centers are so bad, data centers are horrible, everybody protest these data centers, or like, look at these privacy implications of bad AI, right? If I'm like being a pundit for all the stuff that I don't feel passionate about, then I'm focusing less on what I think is actually my lane, where maybe I'm the number one person in the world to do this, just in terms of like, I don't see anybody else stepping up, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So I may be the number one person in the lead to host productive debates about whether superintelligence is actually going to kill us, right? And if I'm the number one person to do that, and there's prominent figures from AI companies, from regulatory right, from government associations, if there's all these people who have opinions that we need to hear, and they're not talking about water usage, they're talking about like a real issue that is about superintelligence conquering humanity, then I need to focus on letting them debate each other, right? Or bringing them on the show and having them explain stuff and representing their positions. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. I'm just saying it's a very coherent lane that I think Doom Debates, that is like our destiny, is to fill that lane, right, Ori?
Yeah, I think that Zane, I mean, that's all well said. I mean, I think that Zane gets at two things. One is that, where's the talk about harms that we that are present today. You know, people respond to that, right? So you say water use is fake. He says there's something to it. I mean, like the fact is, like there are at least some people who like a data center is in their backyard and it affects their like water supply. So like even they have some like tangible harm compared to your super intelligence argument. Like I don't see anything here, right? So like that's one thing is like the hard, you know, addressing like current experiences. And then the second thing is oh no, now I'm forgetting what the second thing is. But I think that I'm forgetting it. But I think that you know, like oh yeah, it's about Bayesianism and the expression of Bayesianism. You know, and Zane's like he's totally right. Like there's a missing mood here, and I like I think that's a really, you know, I saw there was a commenter too. Someone said liminal 27 said great conversation. And like I am you know, I think Zane makes a valid point about like addressing present day harms, like where, you know, we're not doing that, I suppose, you know, and people really react to that. He's totally right about that. But then the second point is like the missing mood. And I really share that. Like I'm also that also bothers me is like the missing mood. Not about you. I'm just like anyone who's concerned about this. Where's you know like Zane asked like, do you really believe what you're saying? And you know it's kind of the the thing is that like so many people who think about this, they're like they're rationalists, you know? Like you look at it like a Bayesian, I think you know, but where's the emotion? I think that maybe the fact that you are be able to the fact that you are able to have a bit of distance with your emotions helps you take the AI doom argument more seriously. Because yeah, you know, like I think Zane makes a good point that you know, um, are you acting like your belief? Like, wouldn't you just draw down your savings more? You know, um, and I think that it has to do with the fact that it's a forecast. It's not something that's here right now. And I think a good parallel to superintelligence is more of like a Pompeii type of situation, which is that yeah, some people maybe are aware that this volcano could erupt, like the forecasters like you, but when you're in a world that's not reacting to it, and many people are oblivious, or you're not just seeing the effects, right? It's like if it's like we're getting frog boiled, right? I mean, you know, we're not like it's not like if you're going to war or if you're experiencing cancer, if you're in other terminal kind of situations, you observe the effects. But I don't see like the heat rising. Like you can you know like part of the superintelligence risk is a discontinuous change. So anyway, those are the 2 points. You know, present day harms and the Bayesianism, like experiencing the Bayesianism. I think he makes good points about both of those.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is going to be an ongoing topic of discussion as more and more people wake up to this. I mean, the Overton window has been shifting us since we last had Doom debates, right? It keeps coming up. There's the whole Fable kerfuffle. That was a huge move of the Overton window. So yeah, you know, we need more Zanes, we need more John Shermans, we need more Doom debates, right? There's a big market for this stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So yeah, we're heading toward the wrap up soon of this episode. We've covered a lot. I think in terms, let's make sure to get to some recapping of you know what happened in the last few weeks on the show. Right, we've got some real banger episodes. A lot of people were commenting and liking on these episodes. So if you guys missed it, we had Stephen Casper a while ago, a new incoming Harvard professor. Had some very interesting takes, kind of fresh from the show, discussing you know AI governance, and he doesn't really see an RSI, recursively self-improving Doom situation, but he sees Doom from like failure to govern it. So that was like an interesting, fresh discussion. And then we had, let's see, I went on Nathan Lebenza's show, and then we went to Less Online, right? And we had the debate, like me versus everybody, Jubilee style. That was fun. Ori helped coordinate that. We had Robert Wright on the show. Then we had Casey Muratori on the show. And then we had Holly Elmore on the show. So really an all-star, it's been an all-star month, right? A lot of these episodes are doing better than average.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a good month. I mean, is there anything in particular that you want to recap from that?
The 2 episodes that got the most reactions have been Casey and Holly. I think because Casey kind of brings his own audience of programmers, and people are like, wow, this is like an old-fashioned debate. Like you guys are substantively getting into issues, and Casey has like a very fresh perspective. He's like very authentic, very good faith, and yet he has so many disagreements with me. That was kind of like in the weeds, I guess. I think maybe like the normies didn't watch it, right? That was like for people more of like in Casey's technical audience. But yeah, great guy. I hope he comes back for a round 2 next year. It'll be fun to watch him update right on the new developments of AI. Like one day AI is just going to program like such a beautiful game, and then he's going to be like, oh crap. So he'll come back in the show and discuss that. And then I think the Holly episode lit a fire in kind of in our inner circle, right? So like the people, because she named names, right? Like all these names that might be obscure outside of the AI safety community. She was naming people like Joe Carlsmith, Zvi Moshowitz, Amanda Ascal, right? These names you don't hear that often if you're not specifically following the AI safety world. And she had like a lot of criticism of everybody, and she riled a lot of people up, right? And like some people were dunking on her. And like I said, I didn't say that I agreed with 100% of what she said, but I said of like why I appreciate her. And yeah, any takes on that, Ori?
She's a control. I really liked what Holly had to say. I'm with you on the fact that like I don't agree with all the points she makes. I think I could criticize her also. Like maybe she's going out on a limb on some places. I think you had really good pushback about the psychologizing that she does, but so it's kind of unfortunate for me as a Holly fan. I'm like, I'm so behind what you're saying, like you do bring so much important like more you're a beacon of morality in so many ways. So I wish she could hear some of your pushback and like take it into account. But yeah, I thought that's the episode that spoke to me. I think she's making a lot of excellent points.
Yeah. I think your reaction is actually pretty representative, right? I feel like there's a lot of people who like resonate with Holly and like really appreciate the mood, right? And really appreciate that she's like, I mean, it's kind of, I feel like Zane would love Holly, right? Because she's acting like she's like really pissed, right? That all these people are helping end the world, right? Because like I'm still maintaining like decorum with them, right? But Holly is like pretty brutal, right? On a personal level, right? Like calling people traitors to their face, like just publicly insulting them, right? And I'm like kind of trying to hold her back a little bit. And like, well, Holly, you're going too far. And she's like, but I'm pissed. Like these people are, POSs, right? To put words in her mouth, right? But she's actually acting like she wants to get down and dirty and brawl because, she's like bitter. Right. And then I think you're resonating with that. And I think that there's a lot of like truth to that, right? It's like the raw, it's her emotional truth. Right. But then I have this beef of like, okay, but you're making arguments that you're not fully supporting, right? You're psychologizing people. You're like trying to get in their heads, and like you have a right to be pissed, but maybe you can draw the line before you start, putting thoughts in their head,
Right. And there was one comment thread that I thought was kind of the best that got at that, which was someone was like, hey, Holly, maybe it's good to join Anthropic. Like you're the good guy within Anthropic and you can mitigate what they're doing. And then Holly's response was, should there be a good guy in Al Qaeda? And then the guy was like, yeah, I think so. And Holly's response is like, hey, Al Qaeda is a lost cause. Like it doesn't matter if you're joining it. And then Lior got into the debate, and he's like, "Nah, man, Holly's doing the right thing." So, even Lior appreciated it. That was like the strongest question, and Holly makes a good point. I mean, I think we have different views on the employees at the AI companies.
Yeah, for the viewers, Lior is me and Ori's friend. I don't think he's a recognized name in the AI safety discourse as of yet.
Yeah, you got to bring it. How come he's not calling in?
Yeah, exactly.
But
you should call in.
Are the AI companies, are they equivalent to, are people who work there, are they, should we accuse them of those like scandalous names, right? I mean, and we have different views on that. I think, you're more willing to communicate with them. I think what they're doing, I think if you work in an AI company, like to me, it's unconscionable, to even defend the enterprise. So I really sympathize with Holly, when she's critical of those people.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Is like a lot of people are really, it's like you pay a lot of attention, or it's common for people to be following. I saw Eliezer Yudkowsky was actually following her on Twitter, so that he doesn't even follow me. Okay, so if you rank people by who Eliezer Yudkowsky follows, you should actually pay more respect to Holly on that front, which to me, that ranking is very meaningful. So you should pay attention to that rating of who Eliezer Yudkowsky follows. Even though she openly was dissing him on the show. And similarly, Zvi, he's like Cher, right? Just first name basis, Zvi. But of course, I mean Zvi Moshowitz, the guy who writes the weekly updates that give really good coverage of the AI industry. even though Holly was going after him personally and calling him, she was saying like, you know, Zvi is regulatory capture, right? He's being regulatory captured by the AI companies, and he's just like, he wants to be able to cover them, so he writes nice things about him. Even when he sometimes criticizes them, he's pulling his punches. That was like her criticism against Zvi. And he himself still follows Holly, still regularly covers her. He put a link to the Holly episode in his latest newsletter. That's always great when we're getting that, you know, organic coverage, earned media, as they call it, right? So Zvi was linking to us, the Holly episode, and he's like, Holly, you know, I've been criticizing her for like coming after me too much, but her criticism that I'm regulatory captured, I don't agree with it, obviously, right? That's not what I'm trying to do, but that's the kind of criticism that she should be making, right? Like that's the kind of argument that has like the highest chance of being true about me. Right, so Zvi took it with grace, right? He linked to it, he took it with grace. And then on the subject of reactions to the Holly episode, there was also a reaction on the opposite side of the spectrum, which is that Dean Ball tweeted, he's like, this is like an insane thing to say to me. She openly said she blocked me on Twitter, and then she like tweeted at me after blocking me as a way to get me to read it. But how could I read it if I was blocked? Like, her behavior is insane. So that was the other side of the coin, where she basically got, you know, polarizing reactions from the episode.
Yeah, and Dean made an excellent point there. It's like, wait, really? You, my biggest critic, and we also do not communicate. You're changing my mind. Like I mean, on an object level, I mean, I think that was a very, he dunked on her. I mean, come on, he's right. He's right there.
Yeah, and I have to admit that, like, I think I said this in the show, like the segment where she was taken down Dean Ball, it's like on an emotional level, I share her frustration that I think Dean Ball is like not having a high enough PDUM, right? And like making bad policy recommendations as a result of not having a high enough PDUM. I think there's a lot of fodder for criticism there. However, I personally think that she went too far with the specific criticism she made, right? So I was open without that on the show.
Yeah, well, and okay, so this is the other point that Lior, you know, chimed in on, which is that, and something you get at, which is, I think you didn't like Holly psychologizing, but one thing you also, you know, as a trained rationalist, you are very you're a hunter. You're a hunter for rationalization, right? And a rationalization is like, you know, basically like bad argumentation to support your point. It's like you already maybe had a point you want to make, you have a position you have already, and you're backwards, you know, coming up with like, well, you know, I want my team to win, so I'm going to say, you know, XYZ. And so, you know, what, like these people, like someone who works at an AI company, right? Or like a Dario Amade. It's like they have such motivated interests. Like, what do you think about the fact that, like, okay, maybe Holly is being more precise by talking about the psychology? Because if you're just dealing with rationalizations, you know, the world of language is so vast. We could have like endless rationalizations, couldn't we? So you're attacking like the points, the rationalizations, but should we just have a Holly who's like, this guy just wants to say, you know, anything an AI lab does is going to be great because that's the team he's on. So maybe the psychologizing is appropriate. What do you think?
Well, like I said, I think because the problem with psychologizing is that it also backfires because people can see if you're going too far out of on a limb, right? And then they discount, they don't see you as a credible source. So, I mean, ideally, you would just have like a mix, right? So you'd have some people who are like bringing the emotion, even if they're like regularly going too far, more of like a politician, right? I mean, if you think about all the things Trump has said, right? Fact checking Trump. It's like, why is he failing all these fact checks? But then people come in and they're like, well, he's directionally correct, right? So I think that's like a perfect description for Holly, right? Is she saying all these things that are directionally correct?
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Nice, guys. All right, we've covered so much, so we got to save some for next week or maybe in a couple weeks. We got to figure out the schedule. But yeah, Ori, any last words?
I mean, okay, can we crickets? Sorry,
I thought there was no last word. All right, what I mean is, Ori, any last words?
Look at this. How do I have a thumbs up? You know, but can we talk for a second about hanging out with the like meeting with the Anthropic employees and like the AI lab employees at Less Online and Manifest? I mean, just for the record, I think people should know that the people who work at AI companies, they said very directly to me that they think their job will be replaced in a year. I think people should know that. Like that, like,
and by the way, and we also saw them. They all, many of them had a high PDUM. So there are dozens at least, right? We don't have a perfect survey of these guys, but there seemed to be a lot of employees at these companies that weren't shy about being like, yes, my PDUM is very high.
Yeah, and they think that, I think like their world model is that they're lowering PDOOM in via some mechanism. But yeah, they're like, in a year, my job will be replaced by AI agents. I mean, that's the trajectory that they believe in and think is coming. So, that's my big like dispute, I suppose, with the denialists who think that AI is not powerful.
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
well, we can
what was your
wrap on
reaction? You want to? I mean, what was your reaction to talking to those people? I mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference to hear it directly from them.
Well, I didn't have any huge updates, right? I mean, the main update was just like, these guys, I mean, they came to Less Online, so they're a selected sample, right? But just the fact that there were like, I don't know, a dozen of them there at least, right? That you and I personally talked to, and they were largely on the same page of like, yep, Doom is high. Like, your ideas are fine. Like, I watch Doom debates, a lot of Doom debates fans. Shout out to the AI company Doom debates fans. I think one of them was like, yeah, at our lunch table, it's like a Doom debate every day. It's like similar content.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I wasn't super surprised by. I mean, these companies are pretty large now, right? So the idea that there would be like some people who would tell us that, that's what I expected, I guess, right? But I mean, the fact that they were like open and chill about it, right? They felt like one of us, right? They felt like there was like a revolving door from commentators who are saying, guys, it seems like we're doing, to people who go in the AI labs and like, look, I'm closer to the inscrutable matrices now. I stir up the cauldron. Okay, now I'm just looking at the cauldron, right? Like the revolving door was pretty clear.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming and watching this pre-4th of July live stream. We got lots of really great content coming out for you guys. I think a highlight that's coming out is our special live on the street episode that we did in Berkeley, California. I feel like those are fan favorites, right?
Definitely. That is in the works.
Oh yeah. All right. Peace out, everybody. Stay
Thank you. Bye.